A single wrong text message sent to the most dangerous man in the city, and he called back. What happens when heartbreak meets the underworld? When an innocent woman accidentally texts a crime lord her darkest thoughts. Tonight, you'll witness a love story born from chaos, where a florist becomes the only weakness of a man the entire city fears. This is the tale of Lena and Roman Vesper, a story of wrong numbers, right moments, and the terrifying cost of love in a world built on blood. Stay until the end, hit that like button, and comment what city you're watching from. I want to see how far this story travels. The rain came down like punishment. Lena Vale sat on the bathroom floor of her cramped apartment, phone clutched in one hand, throat burning from an hour of crying she couldn't stop. The tiles were cold against her bare legs. Her reflection in the mirror above the sink showed a stranger, eyes swollen, nearly shut, mascara streaked down her cheeks in ugly black rivers, hair tangled and damp from where she'd been clutching it. 4 years. 4 goddamn years with Darren Cole, and it had all been a lie. The proof sat right there on her phone screen. Screenshots a mutual friend had sent her an hour ago. Pictures of Darren with another woman. Not just any woman. Someone he'd been seeing for over a year. Someone he'd introduced to his family. Someone who wore a ring Lena had never been offered. Her hand shook so badly she could barely hold the phone. The apartment was silent except for the rain hammering against the single window and the occasional creak of the building settling. Downstairs, Mrs. Chen's flower shop had closed hours ago. The scent of roses and lilies that usually drifted up through the floorboards was gone, replaced by the smell of mold and old radiator heat. Lena's chest felt like it was caving in. She wanted to scream, wanted to break something, wanted to hurt Darren the way he'd hurt her. Make him feel even a fraction of this humiliation, this rage, this absolute gutting betrayal. Instead, she opened her messages. Her fingers moved before her brain caught up. Words poured out in a flood, raw and vicious and honest in a way she'd never been with anyone. She typed about the lies, the wasted years, the other woman, the ring. She typed about how she'd given him everything and he'd thrown it away like garbage. She typed things she'd never say out loud, things that burned coming out even as text. When she finished, the message was a full paragraph of pure venom. She didn't read it over. She just hit send. The moment it went through, relief flooded her system. There. Done. Let him choke on it. She set the phone down on the edge of the tub and pressed her palms against her eyes, trying to breathe. Her whole body ached, the kind of ache that went deeper than muscle and bone. The phone rang, not a text back, a call. Lena's eyes snapped open. She grabbed the phone, expecting to see Darren's name on the screen, ready to let it ring out because she had nothing left to say to him. The number was unknown. Her stomach dropped. She stared at the screen, heart suddenly pounding for a different reason. Unknown number. She never got calls from unknown numbers. Her hand hovered over the decline button. Something made her answer. She pressed the phone to her ear, mouth dry. Hello? Silence. Then a voice. Male. Deep. Controlled in a way that made the hair on the back of her neck stand up. Who is this? Not Darren's voice. Not even close. This voice was colder, sharper. The kind of voice that didn't ask questions it didn't already know the answers to. Lena's breath caught. I'm sorry. You sent me a message. The man's tone didn't change. Flat, clinical. A very detailed message about someone named Darren Cole. Oh God. Oh no. Lena's mind raced. She pulled the phone away from her ear long enough to check the message thread. Her stomach turned to ice. Wrong number. She'd sent it to the wrong number. The contact name at the top wasn't Darren's. It was a number she didn't recognize, saved under a name she must have added months ago and forgotten. Someone she'd met briefly at a work event, maybe. Or a delivery driver. She couldn't even remember. I'm so sorry, she stammered, panic flooding her system. That wasn't meant for you. I made a mistake. What's your name? The question cut through her apology like a blade. Lena's mouth went dry. Why? Because I'd like to know who sends messages like that to strangers. There was something in his voice, not anger, curiosity maybe, or worse, amusement. I said I'm sorry, Lena managed. Her hands were shaking again. It was an accident. Just delete it. I don't think I will. Her heart hammered. What? You were honest, the man said simply. Brutally honest. Do you know how rare that is? Lena didn't know what to say. She felt like she'd stumbled into something she didn't understand, like the ground had shifted beneath her feet without warning. Who are you? She whispered. The pause that followed felt like it lasted an hour. Then the man spoke again, and this time there was something different in his voice, something that made her skin go cold. Goodbye, Lena Vale. The line went dead. Lena stared at the phone. He knew her name. She hadn't told him her name. Her breath came faster. She checked the message thread again, hands trembling so badly she almost dropped the phone. The message was still there. All of it. Every angry, humiliating word she'd poured out about Darren, sent to a complete stranger, a stranger who knew her full name. Panic clawed up her throat. She tried to tell herself it was nothing, a random guy. Maybe he'd looked her up somehow from the number. People could do that, couldn't they? But that voice didn't belong to a random guy. Lena got up from the bathroom floor on shaking legs and went to the window. Rain blurred the city lights below. Blackwater City stretched out in all directions, a sprawl of neon and shadow and endless movement. Somewhere out there, a man she'd never met had just heard her at her absolute lowest. And for some reason, that terrified her more than the breakup itself. She didn't sleep that night. Bunk. Morning came gray and cold. Lena opened the flower shop at 7, same as always, moving through the routine on autopilot. Unlock the door, turn on the lights, check the cooler, water the displays. Her eyes felt like sandpaper. Her head throbbed from dehydration and crying. The shop was small but well kept, tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop on a street that had seen better decades. Mrs. Chen had hired Lena 2 years ago when she needed help after her hip surgery, and Lena had stayed because the work was simple and the flowers didn't ask questions. She was arranging a bouquet of white roses when the bell above the door chimed. Lena looked up, expecting the usual morning customer, someone grabbing flowers on their way to work or the hospital. Instead, a woman walked in, tall, maybe mid-30s, black suit tailored so precisely it looked painted on, dark hair pulled back in a style that was equal parts elegant and severe, and her eyes, cold, scanning the shop with the kind of attention that missed nothing. Lena's hand stilled on the roses. The woman didn't smile, didn't browse, just walked straight to the counter and stopped, looking at Lena with an expression that gave away exactly nothing. Lena Vale? Lena's stomach dropped. Yes? My name is Vera Knox. The woman's voice matched her appearance, sharp, professional, utterly devoid of warmth. I'm here on behalf of someone who'd like to speak with you. I don't understand. Yes, you do. The certainty in those 3 words made Lena's blood run cold. The phone call, the stranger. I didn't do anything wrong, Lena said quickly, her pulse hammered in her ears. That message was a mistake. I already apologized. This isn't about an apology. Vera's eyes didn't blink. Mr. Vesper would like to meet you, tonight, 7 o'clock. I'm not meeting anyone, Lena said, voice shaking. I don't even know who that is. Something that might have been amusement flickered across Vera's face. Might have been. Hard to tell. You will, Vera said. Car will be outside at 6:45. Wear something decent. She turned to leave. Wait. Lena's voice cracked. What if I don't show up? Vera paused at the door and looked back over her shoulder. For the first time, something almost human entered her expression. Almost. Then I'll come back inside, Vera said quietly. And you'll show up anyway. The door chimed as she left. Lena stood frozen behind the counter, heart racing, the scent of roses suddenly cloying in her throat. She told herself she wouldn't go. All day, between customers and deliveries, Lena repeated it like a mantra. She wouldn't go. She'd lock her apartment door and ignore whoever showed up. They couldn't force her. This was insane. But the fear sat in her chest like a stone. That woman, Vera, hadn't threatened her, hadn't raised her voice, but the certainty in her tone had been worse than any threat. Like Lena's compliance wasn't even a question, just a fact. By 6 o'clock, Lena was pacing her apartment. By 6:30, she was standing in front of her closet, hating herself. She pulled out a simple black dress. Nothing fancy, the kind of thing she'd wear to a job interview or a funeral. Her hands shook as she zipped it up. At 6:45 exactly, she looked out her window. A black sedan sat at the curb below. Not a normal car. This thing looked like it could survive a missile strike. Armored, tinted windows so dark she couldn't see inside. A vehicle that screamed money and danger in equal measure. Lena's breath caught. She could still back out, lock the door, call the police. And tell them what? A strange woman invited her to dinner and she was scared? Before she could talk herself out of it, Lena grabbed her coat and went downstairs. The back door of the sedan opened as she approached. Vera Knox sat inside, expressionless. "Get in." Lena got in. The door closed with a heavy, final sound. The interior smelled like leather and something else. Gun oil, maybe. The windows were so dark she could barely see the street outside. Vera didn't speak as the car pulled away from the curb. Didn't look at Lena. Just sat with her hands folded in her lap, posture perfect, eyes forward. "Where are we going?" Lena's voice came out smaller than she wanted. "You'll see." The city slid past the windows. Lena watched the neighborhoods change. Her street gave way to commercial districts, then high-rises, then the kind of buildings that only existed in Blackwater's most expensive areas. Glass and steel reaching toward a sky that never seemed to clear. The car pulled up in front of a restaurant Lena had only seen in magazines. The kind of place that didn't list prices on the menu because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. Vera got out first. Lena followed, legs unsteady, pulse thundering. Inside, the restaurant was empty. Not closed. Empty. Every table set, candles lit, soft music playing, but no customers. No staff visible, just dim golden light and the kind of silence that felt intentional. Vera led her through the dining room without a word, heels clicking on marble, until they reached a private elevator at the back. They went up. The doors opened onto a rooftop terrace. Lena stepped out and her breath caught. The view was impossible. The entire city spread out below, lights glittering like stars, rain misting softly in the air. The terrace was covered, heated, furnished with dark wood and low lighting. A single table sat in the center, set for two, and at that table, a man waited. Roman Vesper stood when he saw her. Lena's first thought was that he was younger than she'd imagined. Maybe 35, maybe less, hard to tell. He wore black, simple, expensive, perfectly tailored, dark hair, sharp features, the kind of face that would be handsome if it weren't so utterly controlled. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, unreadable, fixed on her with an intensity that made her feel exposed. "Lena Vale." His voice was the same one from the phone, calm, steady, dangerous. "Thank you for coming." She didn't move. "I didn't have a choice." A flicker of something crossed his face. Amusement, maybe. "You always have a choice." "Then I'm leaving." "Please don't." The word please sounded foreign coming from him, like he wasn't used to saying it. Roman gestured to the chair across from him. "Sit. I'll explain everything." Lena stayed where she was. "Who are you?" "My name is Roman Vesper. I run certain operations in Blackwater City." "What kind of operations?" "The kind most people prefer not to know about." Her stomach twisted. "You're a criminal." "I'm a businessman," Roman corrected. "Whether that makes me a criminal depends on who you ask." Lena's hands clenched into fists at her sides. "Why am I here?" Roman studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone, opened something, and turned the screen toward her. Her message. The one she'd sent by accident. "This," Roman said quietly, "is the most honest thing anyone has said to me in 5 years." Lena felt her face burn. "That wasn't meant for you." "I know." He set the phone down. "That's why it's honest. You weren't trying to manipulate me. You weren't trying to impress me or scare me or negotiate with me. You were just hurt and angry and human." "So what?" Lena's voice shook. "You brought me here because I vented about my ex to the wrong number?" "I brought you here because I wanted to meet the woman brave enough to send something that raw to a stranger." Roman's expression didn't change, but something in his tone shifted, softened almost. "Most people lie to me, Lena. Every day. Every conversation. They tell me what they think I want to hear. But you, he paused, you told the truth without even knowing who I was. That's rare. Lena swallowed hard. I want to leave. Then leave. Roman gestured toward the elevator. Vera will drive you home. No one will bother you again. She didn't move. Couldn't move. Because despite the fear coiling in her gut, despite every instinct screaming at her to run, part of her wanted to know why this man, this dangerous, controlled, terrifying man, had gone to all this trouble. Why does it matter to you? She asked. Roman was quiet for a moment. Then he pulled out the chair across from him again. Sit, he said, and I'll tell you. Against every ounce of better judgment, Lena sat. The food came without either of them ordering. Plates appeared as if by magic, delivered by silent staff who vanished the moment they set things down. Lena barely touched hers. Her stomach was too tight. Roman ate slowly, methodically, like someone who'd learned to treat meals as fuel rather than pleasure. How did you know my name? Lena asked. Your number is registered to you. Roman's tone was matter-of-fact. It took 30 seconds to find your address, your employment history, your credit score. He paused. Your relationship status. Her face burned. That's illegal. Yes. The casual admission made her head spin. You just admit that? Why lie? Roman set down his fork. You already know what I am, Lena. I'm not going to insult you by pretending otherwise. She stared at him. What do you want from me? Nothing. Bullshit. The word came out harder than she meant it to. Roman's eyebrows rose slightly. Everyone wants something, Lena continued, voice shaking, especially people like you. So what is it? You want me to work for you? Deliver something? Be collateral for... I want to talk to you, Roman interrupted. Lena stopped. That's it, he said. I want to have a conversation with someone who doesn't have an agenda, who doesn't want anything from me, who isn't afraid to tell me the truth. I'm afraid, Lena said quietly. Good. Roman's eyes held hers. Fear means you're smart. They sat in silence for a moment. Rain misted against the glass walls of the terrace. Below them, the city pulsed with life. Traffic, lights, movement, chaos. Tell me about the flowers, Roman said suddenly. Lena blinked. What? Your shop. You work with flowers. He leaned back slightly. Why? It was such a normal question, so completely out of place in this surreal situation that Lena almost laughed. Because they're simple, she said finally. You water them, they grow, you cut them, you arrange them, someone buys them. There's no agenda, no lies. They just are what they are. Roman nodded slowly. I understand that. Do you? More than you'd think. He paused. I grew up in this city. 7th floor of a building that should have been condemned. My mother worked 3 jobs. My father was complicated. His expression didn't change, but something in his voice hardened. I learned early that survival meant control, information, power. By the time I was 25, I'd built enough of both to matter. And now? Now I have more than I know what to do with. Roman's voice was flat. And I'm so goddamn tired of people lying to me that when someone accidentally tells me the truth, I pay attention. Lena felt something shift in her chest. Not trust. Not yet. But maybe understanding. The man you wrote about, Roman said. Darren Cole. He hurt you. It wasn't a question. Lena's throat tightened. 4 years. He wasted 4 years of my life. Then he's an idiot. The blunt statement caught her off guard. She looked up. Roman's expression hadn't changed, but his eyes held something that might have been anger, might have been disgust. Anyone who had you and threw it away, he said quietly, deserves everything you wrote in that message and worse. Lena didn't know what to say. They talked for another hour. About nothing. About everything. Roman asked about her childhood, her favorite books, the worst customer she'd ever dealt with at the flower shop. He listened with the kind of attention that felt almost unsettling, like he was cataloging every word, filing it away. In return, he told her about the city, about the systems beneath the surface most people never saw, about power and loyalty and the price of both. He didn't lie, she could tell. When Vera finally appeared to signal the car was ready, Lena felt like she'd been pulled out of a dream. Roman stood when she did. "Thank you for trusting me tonight." "I didn't trust you," Lena said honestly. "No," he agreed, "but you stayed anyway." At the elevator, Lena paused. "Are you going to contact me again?" Roman's eyes met hers. For the first time, she saw something almost human in them, almost vulnerable. "I think I will," he said. "Ma." The next week passed in a blur. Lena tried to go back to normal. Wake up, work, sleep, repeat. But normal felt like it belonged to someone else now. Roman texted her 3 days later. Not a threat, not a demand, just a question. "What's your favorite flower?" She stared at the message for 10 minutes before responding. "Peonies." Why? Curiosity. The next morning, a delivery arrived at the shop. 24 peonies in full bloom, arranged in a simple glass vase. No card, no note, just flowers. Mrs. Chen raised an eyebrow when she saw them. "Secret admirer?" "Something like that," Lena murmured. The texts continued. Random questions at random times. Never invasive, never demanding. Just conversation. "Do you believe people can change? What's the worst movie you've ever seen? If you could leave this city, where would you go?" Lena found herself answering, found herself asking questions back, found herself thinking about Roman Vesper during the day when she should have been working. It was insane. He was a criminal, a dangerous man, the kind of person she should be running from, not texting about childhood memories and bad movies, but something about him felt real in a way Darren never had. 2 weeks after the rooftop dinner, Roman called her at midnight. Lena answered on the second ring, heart racing. "Hello? I can't sleep." His voice sounded rougher than usual, tired. "Why are you telling me?" "Because you're the only person who won't lie and say I should try meditation or some bullshit like that." Lena sat up in bed, pulling her knees to her chest. "What's wrong?" "Everything." A pause. "Nothing. I don't know." She heard something in his voice she hadn't heard before. Uncertainty. Maybe even fear. "Talk to me," she said softly. And he did. For an hour, Roman talked. About the weight of running an empire built on violence. About the people who depended on him. About the men he'd had to hurt to stay in power. About the loneliness of being someone no one could afford to trust. Lena listened. When he finally went quiet, she spoke. "You asked me once if people can change," she said. "I think they can, but only if they want to." "And if I wanted to?" "Then you would." The line was silent for a long time. "Lena." "Yeah, thank you." The call ended. Lena sat in the dark, phone still pressed to her ear, chest tight with something she couldn't name. Gate. The attack came without warning. Lena was closing the shop, pulling down the metal shutter, keys in hand. The street was empty. Most businesses on this block shut down by 8. She heard footsteps behind her. Fast. Too fast. Before she could turn, someone grabbed her arm. Lena screamed. A hand clamped over her mouth. Strong. Male. Rough enough to hurt. "Quiet," a voice hissed in her ear. "Or this gets worse." Terror flooded her system. She thrashed, trying to pull free, but the man was too strong. He dragged her backward toward a van idling at the curb, door already open. Someone else grabbed her other arm. Lena's vision blurred with panic. She tried to scream again, but the hand on her mouth tightened, cutting off air. This was it. This was how she died. Then the world exploded. The man holding her left arm released suddenly, stumbling backward. Lena heard a sickening crack. Bone breaking, maybe. And then a scream. The hand over her mouth vanished. She gasped for air, stumbling, and saw Vera Knox moving through the darkness like something out of a nightmare. Precise. Brutal. Terrifying. One of the men pulled a gun. Vera disarmed him in 2 movements and put him on the ground so hard Lena heard the impact from 10 feet away. The van's engine roared. Someone inside was yelling. More footsteps. Roman's security team materializing from nowhere, blocking the street, surrounding the vehicle. It was over in seconds. Lena sank to her knees on the sidewalk. shaking so hard her teeth chattered. Her wrist throbbed where someone had grabbed her. Her throat felt raw. Vera knelt beside her, checking her over with cold efficiency. Hurt? Lena shook her head, couldn't speak. Good. Vera stood, already barking orders into a phone. Get her to the penthouse, now! Wait. But Lena didn't get to finish. Someone lifted her, one of the security team, built like a wall, and carried her to a car that appeared as if summoned. The ride was a blur. Lena couldn't process it, couldn't think past the adrenaline screaming through her veins. When the car stopped, she was somewhere she didn't recognize. A building that looked like it touched the sky. Private elevator, up, up, up. The doors opened onto a penthouse that took up the entire top floor, floor-to-ceiling windows, city lights stretching to the horizon, furniture that probably cost more than Lena made in a year, everything dark wood and sharp angles and controlled elegance. Roman stood in the center of the room. The moment he saw her, something in his expression shattered. Lena. He crossed the space between them in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. The control was gone. The calm was gone. He held her like she might disappear if he let go, one hand buried in her hair, the other pressed against her back. His heart hammered against her ear. I almost lost you, he whispered. Lena's hands fisted in his shirt. The fear, the shock, everything came pouring out at once. She shook against him, unable to stop. Who were they? She managed. Roman pulled back just enough to look at her face. His eyes burned with something that made her breath catch. Rage. Pure, absolute rage. Silas Graves, he said, voice like gravel. A rival who thinks he can use you to get to me. Why would he? Because he's paying attention. Roman's jaw clenched, and he saw that I care about you. The admission hung in the air between them. Lena stared up at him, heart racing for an entirely different reason now. You care about me? Roman's hand came up to cup her face. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone, gentle in a way that didn't match anything else about him. More than I should, he said quietly. More than is safe. For either of us. Lena knew she should pull away. Knew this was insane. Knew getting closer to Roman Vesper meant stepping into a world that had just tried to kidnap her off a public street. But when he looked at her like that, like she was the only real thing in his entire empire, logic didn't matter. I'm scared, she whispered. I know. I should leave, go somewhere safe. Nowhere is safe. Roman's voice dropped. Not from Silas. Not now that he knows about you. The only place you're protected is here. With me. Lena's hands were still fisted in his shirt. She could feel his heartbeat, could see the fear behind the rage in his eyes. This man who controlled an empire was terrified of losing her. I don't understand this, she said. Any of this. Neither do I. Roman leaned down until his forehead rested against hers. All I know is that you walked into my life by accident and I don't want you to leave. Roman, he kissed her. Not soft, not gentle, desperate and fierce, and full of everything neither of them had said out loud. Lena kissed him back. It was a mistake. She knew it was a mistake. But in that moment, wrapped in Roman Vesper's arms while the city glittered below and danger circled closer, Lena didn't care. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Roman's eyes searched hers. Stay, he said. Please. Lena looked up at the man the entire city feared, and she stayed. Somewhere across the city, in a luxury penthouse that rivaled Roman's own, Silas Graves stood at his window and smiled. His phone buzzed, a message from the team he'd sent to grab the florist. Failed. Vesper's people were waiting. Silas's smile widened. Good. He hadn't expected them to succeed. That wasn't the point. The point was to make Roman react. And react he had, publicly, violently, protectively. Everyone in Blackwater's underworld would hear about it by morning. The untouchable Roman Vesper had a weakness now. A soft spot. A woman he'd move heaven and earth to protect. Silas set down his phone and poured himself a drink. Let Roman think he'd won tonight. Let him think his little flower was safe in that fortress penthouse. Because the real game was just beginning. And by the time Roman realized what was happening, it would be too late. Lena woke to sunlight burning through floor-to-ceiling windows she didn't recognize. For 3 seconds, she forgot where she was. Then it all came rushing back. The attack, the penthouse, Roman's arms around her, the kiss that had shattered what was left of her better judgment. She sat up fast, heart hammering. The bedroom was massive, all dark wood and clean lines and a bed so big it could sleep 4 people comfortably. Her shoes sat neatly by the door, her coat hung on a chair. Someone had brought her things up from the apartment. The door opened. Lena grabbed the blanket, pulling it up to her chest. Vera Knox stepped inside carrying a tray, coffee, toast, something that might have been eggs. "You're awake," Vera said flatly. Not a question. "Where's Roman?" "Dealing with last night." Vera set the tray on the nightstand. "Eat. You look like hell." Lena's hand shook as she reached for the coffee. "What time is it?" 9. "I need to get to the shop. The shop is closed today." Vera's tone left no room for argument. "Mrs. Chen has been informed you're taking personal time. You can't just—" "We can." Vera crossed her arms. "And we did. Until Silas Graves is handled, you don't go anywhere without security. Those are Roman's orders." Lena set down the coffee before she spilled it. "I'm not a prisoner." "No, you're a target." Vera's eyes were cold. "There's a difference." The words hit like a slap. Lena pulled her knees to her chest, suddenly feeling very small in the enormous bed. "How long?" "As long as it takes." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Vera moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, Roman doesn't do this, ever. The fact that you're here at all means something. What does it mean?" Vera's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Something that might have been concern. "It means you matter to him," she said, "and in his world that makes you the most dangerous thing he's ever touched." The door closed. Lena sat alone in the silent bedroom, coffee growing cold in her hands. Dad. Roman found her an hour later standing at the windows staring out at the city. She heard him enter but didn't turn around. "How much of it do you control?" she asked. Roman moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could feel the heat of him, far enough that they weren't touching. "More than half," he said. "Less than I'd like. The drugs, the gambling, She couldn't even finish. "Yes." The simple admission made her stomach turn. "And you're fine with that?" "No." Roman's reflection in the glass was unreadable. "But being fine with it isn't the point. The point is control. If I don't run those operations, someone else will. Someone worse." "That's a convenient excuse." "It's the truth." Lena finally turned to look at him. In daylight, he looked different, tired. The control was still there, etched into every line of his body, but underneath it she saw something raw. "I didn't ask for this," she said quietly. "I know. One wrong text message and now I'm—" She gestured helplessly at the penthouse, at him, at everything. "I'm trapped in your world because some psychopath wants to hurt you through me. Silas doesn't want to hurt me through you." Roman's voice went flat. "He wants to kill you to prove he can. To show everyone in this city that I'm not untouchable anymore." The words hung between them like smoke. Lena's hands clenched into fists. "So what now? I just stay here forever? Give up my life because you have enemies?" "You stay here until I end him." The certainty in Roman's tone sent ice down her spine. "End him how?" "However I have to." Lena stared at him. At this man who'd been almost gentle with her last night, who'd held her like she was something precious. Now he stood there talking about ending someone's life like it was a business transaction. "You're going to kill him," she said. "If that's what it takes. And you don't see anything wrong with that?" Roman's jaw tightened. "I see everything wrong with it, but I see worse things in the alternative." "What alternative?" "You. Dead." His voice cracked slightly on the last word. "Because I wasn't willing to do what needed to be done." Lena felt something shift in her chest. Anger, maybe, or fear, or both tangled together until she couldn't tell them apart. "I didn't sign up for this," she said again. "Neither did I." Roman turned to face her fully. "You think I wanted to care about someone? To have a weakness someone like Silas could exploit? I spent 15 years building walls specifically to avoid this. Then let me go. I can't. You mean you won't? I mean, if I let you walk out that door, you'll be dead within 48 hours. Roman's eyes burned into hers. Silas has already put a price on your head. Every lowlife in Blackwater knows your face by now. The only reason you're alive is because you're here. Lena's breath came faster. You're lying. Am I? Roman pulled out his phone, pulled up something, and turned the screen toward her. It was a photo of her, leaving the flower shop, clear as day, and underneath it, an amount that made her vision blur. $50,000. For information leading to her location. Lena's legs went weak. She stumbled backward until her shoulders hit the window. Roman pocketed the phone. That went out 4 hours ago. By now, every criminal in the city is looking for you. So no, Lena, you can't leave. Not until Silas is gone. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw something, wanted to wake up and discover this was all some horrible nightmare. Instead, she just stood there, shaking. Roman reached for her. She jerked away. Don't. He stopped, hand still extended, something that might have been hurt flashing across his face. I need... Lena's voice broke. I need to be alone. Roman lowered his hand slowly. Okay? Just give me space, please. For a long moment, he didn't move. Then he nodded once and walked to the door. Before he left, he paused without turning around. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For all of it. The door closed. Lena sank to the floor and finally let herself cry. Tick. 3 days passed in a strange, suspended kind of hell. Lena barely left the bedroom. Vera brought meals she didn't eat. Roman knocked twice a day but never entered. The penthouse felt like a cage made of glass and steel and good intentions. On the 4th morning, Lena woke to voices outside her door. Angry voices. She got up, pressed her ear to the wood. Telling you it's a mistake. Vera's tone was sharp. Every day she's here, we're exposed. She stays, Roman's voice, tired but firm. He's baiting you, can't you see that? Vera's frustration bled through every word. Silas doesn't want the girl. He wants you distracted, emotional, making stupid decisions. My decisions aren't stupid? Aren't they? A pause. When was the last time you met with the suppliers? When did you last check the southern routes? Marcus called 3 times yesterday and you didn't answer because you were standing outside her door like a lovesick... Enough! The single word cut like a blade. Silence. Then Vera spoke again, quieter. I've worked for you for 8 years, Roman. 8 years watching you build this empire. You've never let anyone get close. Never let emotions compromise the operation, and now I have something worth protecting. She's a liability. Roman stopped. When he spoke again, his voice was rough. She's the first real thing I've had in my entire life. So yes, Vera, she stays. And if that makes me weak, then I'm weak. Footsteps. Lena scrambled back from the door just before it opened. Roman stood in the doorway. He looked worse than before. Dark circles under his eyes, jaw shadowed with stubble, shirt wrinkled. You heard, he said. Not a question. Lena nodded. Vera's right. About most of it. Roman leaned against the doorframe like standing took effort. Having you here is a tactical mistake. My operation is suffering. My people are questioning my judgment. Then let me go. I already told you. I know what you told me. Lena's voice came out harder than she meant it to. But I can't stay locked in this room forever, Roman. I'm going crazy. He studied her for a long moment. What do you want? I want my life back. That's not possible. Then I want... She stopped, not knowing how to finish. What did she want? Safety. Normalcy. The ability to walk down a street without looking over her shoulder. Roman. The thought came unbidden and she shoved it away. Tell me what you need, Roman said quietly. And if I can give it to you, I will. Lena looked at him, really looked at him. This man who terrified her and protected her in equal measure. This criminal who'd torn apart her life and was now offering to give her anything she asked for. I need to understand, she said finally. All of it. Who Silas is, why he wants me dead, what you're planning to do about it. I need the truth, Roman, not the sanitized version, the real one. Roman's expression didn't change, but she saw the moment he made his decision. Okay, he said. Come with me. Walked. He took her to his office. It was a room she hadn't seen before, at the far end of the penthouse. Dark wood, leather chairs, screens covering one entire wall showing feeds from cameras across the city. Roman poured himself a drink, offered her one. She shook her head. Silas Graves, Roman began, settling into the chair behind his desk, runs the Eastern Territories. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking, everything I won't touch, he specializes in. Lena's stomach turned. And you've been at war with him? Not war. Competition. There's a difference. Roman took a drink. For 10 years, we had an understanding. He stayed in his territory. I stayed in mine. We didn't interfere with each other's operations. What changed? I did. Roman set down the glass. 2 years ago, I started cleaning up my operation, cutting out the worst parts. I shut down a trafficking route that ran through my territory, closed 3 drug labs that were dealing to kids, started investing in legitimate businesses. Why? Because I was tired. The admission seemed to cost him something. Tired of being a monster. Tired of waking up every morning knowing I was destroying lives. So I tried to change. Lena sat down slowly in the chair across from him. And Silas saw that as weakness. Silas saw it as an opportunity. Roman's jaw tightened. He started pushing into my territories, testing boundaries, taking over operations I'd abandoned, making moves he never would have dared before. Because you were distracted. Because I was trying to be better. Roman's laugh was bitter. Turns out morality is bad for business. Lena leaned forward. Why didn't you push back? I did. Quietly. Strategically. But every time I shut down one of his operations, he'd start 2 more. He's rabid, Lena. No rules. No lines he won't cross. Roman's eyes met hers. Including going after innocent people to get to me. That's why he wants me dead. That's why he wants you scared. Roman stood, moving to the windows. Killing you would be easy, quick. But that's not the game he's playing. He wants to torture me first. Make me watch him get closer and closer. Make me question every decision, second-guess every move. Then why attack me at all? Lena's voice shook. Why not just, I don't know, send threats? Because he needed proof I'd react. Roman turned to face her. He needed to confirm that you weren't just some random woman, that you mattered. The moment I pulled you into this penthouse, the moment my people went to war to protect you, I gave him exactly what he wanted. Confirmation. Leverage. The word hung in the air between them. Lena's hands clenched on the armrests. So what now? Now I end it. Roman's voice went cold. Before he makes another move. How? Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he crossed to his desk, unlocked a drawer, and pulled out a file. He handed it to her. Inside were photos, documents, financial records, all related to Silas Graves and his operation. I've been building this for 6 months, Roman said. Evidence, witnesses, paper trails linking him to every crime he's ever committed. Enough to put him away for 3 lifetimes. Lena looked up sharply. You're going to turn him in? I'm going to destroy him. Roman's tone was matter-of-fact. His empire, his reputation, his freedom, everything. And then, when he's locked in a cell with nothing left, I'm going to make sure everyone in Blackwater knows it was me who put him there. Lena didn't know what it was. Brilliant, maybe. Terrifying, definitely. It's the only way. Roman sat on the edge of the desk. If I kill him, I start a war. His lieutenants will come for revenge. The cycle continues. But if I dismantle him legally, publicly, there's no revenge, just consequences. Lena stared at the file in her hands. You think this will work? I think it's the best chance we have. And if it doesn't? Roman's eyes held hers. Then I go back to doing things the old way. And I live with what that makes me. The weight of it settled over her like a blanket. This man was trying to change, trying to be better. And she was caught in the middle of that transformation, a symbol of what he wanted to protect and everything he stood to lose. I don't know if I can do this, Lena whispered. Do what? Be the reason you have to make that choice. She set the file down. I don't want your blood on my hands, Roman. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, he took her hand in his. The blood was there long before you, he said quietly. All you did was give me a reason to want it washed clean. Lena's throat tightened. What if I'm not strong enough for this? You sent a crime lord a message telling him exactly what you thought of cheating bastards. The corner of Roman's mouth almost twitched. You're stronger than you think. Despite everything, Lena almost smiled. Almost. Then the screens on the wall lit up red. Roman was on his feet instantly. What? The office door slammed open. Vera stood there, phone in hand, face grim. We have a problem. He did. The surveillance footage showed the flower shop, Lena's flower shop, on fire. She watched the screens in numb horror as flames ate through the building. Mrs. Chen's shop, the place Lena had worked for 2 years, gone in minutes. When? Roman's voice was ice. 20 minutes ago. Vera pulled up another feed. Fire department's on scene, but the damage is done. It's a total loss. Casualties? None. The building was empty. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the images on the screen, her shop, her job, everything normal about her life turning to ash. This is a message, Vera said flatly. I know what it is. Roman's hands were clenched into fists. He's escalating. He's baiting you, again. Vera's tone was sharp. He burns her shop, you retaliate, he hits back harder. It's a cycle. So what do you suggest? Roman turned to face her. We just let him destroy everything she has? I suggest you think strategically instead of emotionally. Fuck strategy. Roman. Vera's voice cut through his anger. This is exactly what he wants. You, off balance, making rash decisions, playing his game. Lena stood frozen, watching them argue over her life like it was a chess match. He attacked her, Roman said through gritted teeth. He attacked a building. Vera's eyes were cold. There's a difference. The hell there is. Stop. Lena's voice came out stronger than she felt. Both of you, just stop. They turned to look at her. She moved toward the screen, staring at the burning building. Her hands shook, but she forced them still. Vera's right, she said quietly. Roman stared at her. What? He's baiting you, getting you angry so you'll do something stupid. Lena turned to face him. If you retaliate now, you're giving him exactly what he wants. I can't just... Yes, you can. She crossed to him, forced him to look at her. You said you were building a case. Evidence. A way to end this without starting a war. That doesn't change because he burned down a building. He burned down your building. It's insured. The words felt hollow, but true. Mrs. Chen will rebuild. But if you go after Silas now, before you're ready, people will die. Real people. Not just buildings. Roman's jaw worked. She could see the war happening behind his eyes, the old instinct screaming at him to strike back, to show Silas there were consequences. How long? He asked finally. Vera understood immediately. To build the full case? 2 weeks. Maybe 3. Too long. It's what we have. Roman turned away, running a hand through his hair. He'll hit again before then. Probably, Vera agreed. Then we move faster. Roman's voice was tight. We push harder, get the evidence we need, and end this. That's risky. I don't care. Roman spun back to face them. Every day we wait is another day he has to get to her. I'm not gambling with that. Lena felt something twist in her chest. This man was tearing himself apart trying to protect her, trying to be better than what he was while still being everything his world demanded. Let me help, she said. Both of them turned to stare at her. What? Roman's voice was flat. You heard me. Let me help. Lena straightened her shoulders. I'm not just going to sit in that bedroom waiting for you to save me. If we're doing this, we do it together. Absolutely not. Why? Because you're not... Roman stopped himself. Because it's dangerous. It's already dangerous. Lena moved closer. Silas knows who I am. He knows where I worked. He's going to keep coming no matter what. At least if I'm helping, I'm doing something instead of just being a victim. She has a point, Vera said quietly. Roman shot her a look that could have melted steel. Vera didn't flinch. Silas thinks she's just some helpless girl. If we use that, turn it into an advantage, no. Roman? I said no. His voice was final. I already put her in danger just by caring about her. I'm not making it worse. Lena felt anger flare in her chest. You don't get to make that choice for me. The hell I don't. I'm not yours to protect like some... She searched for the word. Some possession. I'm a person. And I get to decide what risks I take. Roman stepped closer. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to look at him. Close enough that she could see the fear beneath the anger in his eyes. If something happens to you, he said quietly, I won't survive it. Do you understand that? I've survived bullets and betrayals and 15 years in this godforsaken city. But losing you would destroy me. The raw honesty in his voice stole her breath. Then don't lose me, Lena whispered. Fight with me. Not for me. They stared at each other. Vera cleared her throat. We need to make a decision. Roman didn't look away from Lena. What did you have in mind? It was Vera who answered. Silas is hosting a party, 3 days from now. Invitation only. High-profile buyers, corrupt officials, people he wants to impress. She paused. He invited you. Roman's eyes narrowed. When? This morning, before the fire. Vera pulled up an image on her phone. An invitation, expensive paper, gold lettering. He's calling it a peace offering, a chance to negotiate territory without violence. It's a trap. Obviously. Vera's tone was dry. But it's also an opportunity. His entire operation will be in one place. Everyone he does business with. Everything we need to make the case airtight. You want me to walk into an ambush. I want you to walk in with leverage. Vera looked at Lena. Bring her. Lena's heart jumped. What? Silas thinks she's your weakness. Proof you've gone soft. If you show up with her on your arm, it confirms everything he believes. Vera's eyes were calculating. Which means he won't expect what comes next. Which is, Roman's voice was dangerous. We record everything, every conversation, every transaction, every confession from every drunk criminal bragging about deals and murders, and we use it to bury him. Lena's mind raced. That could work. That could get you killed, Roman snapped. So could staying here. Lena met his eyes. At least this way we're fighting back. You don't know what you're asking. Then tell me. Roman's jaw clenched. These parties, they're not cocktails and small talk, Lena. They're dangerous, violent, full of people who would gut you for looking at them wrong. If something goes wrong, if we're exposed, then we'll deal with it. Lena's voice was steady. Together. I can't protect you in there. You don't have to. I can protect myself. Roman stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You've never even held a gun. So teach me. The words hung in the air. Vera's eyebrows rose slightly. Roman looked between them, and Lena could see the war playing out across his face. Every instinct telling him to refuse, to keep her locked away where she was safe. But underneath that, she saw something else. Respect. 3 days, he said finally. That's not enough time to... Then we work with what we have. Lena stepped closer. I'm not asking for permission, Roman. I'm telling you I'm doing this. You can either help me or I'll figure it out myself. For a long moment, he just stared at her. Then slowly, something that might have been a smile touched his lips. You're insane, he said quietly. Probably. This is the worst idea I've ever heard. Probably that too. Roman turned to Vera. Get her ready, weapons training, surveillance tech, everything. If we're doing this... He looked back at Lena. We do it right. Vera nodded once. On it. She left. Roman and Lena stood alone in the office, the burning shop still visible on the screens behind them. You're sure about this? Roman asked. Lena thought about the flower shop, about Mrs. Chen, about her entire normal life going up in flames because she'd accidentally sent a text message to the wrong person. I'm sure, she said. Roman reached out, cupped her face gently. If anything happens to you, it won't. You don't know that. Neither do you. Lena covered his hand with hers. But I know I'm not going to spend the rest of my life hiding, waiting for the next attack. If Silas wants a war, let's give him one. Roman's thumb brushed across her cheekbone. When did you get so brave? When I realized being scared wasn't keeping me safe. He kissed her then, soft and desperate and full of everything neither of them could say out loud. When they pulled apart, Roman rested his forehead against hers. 3 days, he whispered. 3 days, she agreed. The shit. The training started immediately. Vera didn't waste time with pleasantries. The next morning, she woke Lena at 5 and took her to a private range in the basement of the building. Ever fired a weapon? Vera asked, setting a handgun on the table. No. Good, means I don't have to break bad habits. Vera picked up the gun, checked it with practiced efficiency, and handed it to Lena grip first. This is a Glock 19, 15 rounds. Simple, reliable, won't jam if you treat it right. Lena took the weapon gingerly. It was heavier than she expected. First rule, Vera said, never point it at anything you don't want to destroy. Second rule, finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Third rule, there are no accidents, only negligence. For the next 2 hours, Vera drilled her. Grip, stance, sight alignment, trigger control. Over and over until Lena's arms ached and her ears rang despite the protection. Again, Vera said flatly every time Lena missed. By noon, Lena could hit the target more often than not. Not bad, Vera said. It was the closest thing to a compliment Lena had heard from her. But shooting paper isn't the same as shooting a person. I know that. Do you? Vera's eyes were hard. Because when someone's coming at you, when there's blood and screaming and chaos, your training goes out the window, your hands shake, your vision narrows, you freeze. What do I do? You breathe. Vera tapped Lena's chest. And you remember that hesitation gets you killed. When it's you or them, you choose you. Every time. No mercy. No second chances. Lena swallowed hard. Has Roman killed people? Vera finished. Yes. More than you want to know about. And he'll do it again if it means keeping you alive. The blunt honesty made Lena's stomach turn. Does that scare you? Vera asked. Yes. Good. Fear keeps you alive. Vera reloaded the gun and handed it back. Now do it again, faster this time. That evening, Roman found Lena in the training room, bruised and exhausted. He didn't say anything, just sat down beside her on the floor, close enough that their shoulders touched. Vera's brutal, Lena said finally. Vera's effective. Roman's voice was quiet. She'll keep you alive. Is that what she did for you? Kept you alive? Among other things. Roman leaned his head back against the wall. I met her 8 years ago. She was working security for a rival who tried to kill me. She switched sides mid-ambush. Lena turned to look at him. Why? Because she knew I'd win. Roman's smile was thin. Vera's practical, loyal to whoever gives her the best chance of survival. Turns out that's been me for almost a decade. You trust her. With my life. Roman paused. With yours. They sat in silence for a moment. I'm scared, Lena admitted. You should be. That's not comforting. It's not supposed to be. Roman turned his head to look at her. Fear means you understand what we're walking into. That's good. That's smart. What if I freeze? The question came out small. What if something happens and I just can't move? Roman reached over and took her hand. Then I'll move for you. Vera will move for you. We won't let you fall. Lena's throat tightened. I don't deserve this. You, Vera, any of it. You deserve better. Roman's voice was rough. You deserve a normal life with a normal guy who takes you to normal restaurants and doesn't have a body count. But that's not what I have. No. Roman squeezed her hand. You have me. And I'm doing everything I can not to get you killed because of it. Lena leaned her head on his shoulder. 3 days. 2 now, Roman corrected. The party's tomorrow night. Her stomach dropped. Tomorrow? Vera moved up the timeline. Silas is getting impatient. If we wait, he'll make another move. So we go in tomorrow. We go in tomorrow, Roman confirmed. Lena closed her eyes. Okay. Lena, I said okay. She lifted her head to look at him. I'm terrified, but I'm doing this anyway. Roman studied her face for a long moment. Then he pulled her closer, wrapped his arms around her, and held on like he was trying to memorize the feel of her. I love you, he said quietly. The words hit her like a physical blow. Lena pulled back to stare at him. What? I love you. Roman's eyes held hers. I know it's insane. I know we barely know each other. But I've spent 15 years surrounded by liars and killers and people who'd sell me out for the right price. And then you accidentally sent me a message full of raw, honest rage, and He stopped. I couldn't look away. Lena's heart hammered. Roman! You don't have to say it back. His voice was rough. I just needed you to know. Before tomorrow, before everything goes to hell. I needed you to know that this, he gestured between them. This is real for me. Maybe the only real thing I've ever had. Lena felt tears burning her eyes. She should run, should tell him this was too much, too fast, too dangerous. Instead, she kissed him, hard and desperate and full of every terrified, exhilarated feeling coursing through her. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, she pressed her forehead to his. I love you too, she whispered. And I hate that I do, because it makes this so much worse. Roman's laugh was bitter. Yeah, it really does. They stayed like that for a long time, holding each other in the empty training room, trying not to think about tomorrow, trying not to think about everything that could go wrong. The next evening arrived too fast. Lena stood in front of the mirror in Roman's bedroom, barely recognizing herself. The dress Vera had chosen was black, simple, elegant, cut in a way that suggested danger without screaming it. Her hair was pulled back, makeup subtle but precise. She looked like she belonged in Roman's world. The thought made her sick. You ready? Vera appeared in the doorway, also dressed for the party. Dark suit, hair pulled back, a gun visible at her hip. No, Lena said honestly. Good. Vera handed her a small device. Earpiece. Keep it in. We'll be able to communicate once we're inside. And this? She handed over a tiny camera disguised as a pendant. Records everything. Audio and video. Don't touch it. Don't mention it. Just wear it. Lena took the necklace with shaking hands. What if someone searches me? They won't. You're Roman's date, not a threat. Vera's eyes were hard. Use that. Act scared. Act overwhelmed. Let them underestimate you. That won't be hard. Vera almost smiled. You're tougher than you think. A knock at the door. Roman entered and Lena's breath caught. He wore black. Perfectly tailored, every inch the dangerous criminal he was. But when he looked at her, his expression softened. You look... He stopped. You look beautiful. I look terrified. That too. Roman crossed to her, adjusted the pendant so it sat perfectly. His fingers lingered on her collarbone. Last chance to back out. Are you backing out? No? Then neither am I. Roman's eyes searched hers, looking for doubt, for fear, for any sign she wasn't ready. What he found must have satisfied him, because he nodded once. Stay close to me, he said. Don't wander, don't accept drinks from anyone. And if things go wrong, I run, Lena finished. Vera already gave me the speech. I'm giving it again. Roman's voice was intense. If shooting starts, if anything feels wrong, you get out. You don't wait for me. You don't try to help. You run, and you don't stop until Vera tells you it's safe. Roman, promise me. Lena looked at him, at this man who'd turned her entire life upside down, who'd brought danger and chaos, and something that felt terrifyingly close to love. I promise, she lied. Roman knew she was lying. She could see it in his eyes. But he didn't call her on it, just pulled her close and kissed her forehead. Let's go, he said quietly. The party was in the industrial district, an old warehouse converted into something that looked like it belonged in a different city, a richer city. Lights, music, people in expensive clothes pretending they weren't criminals. Roman's hand never left Lena's back as they walked inside. The security at the door was heavy, men with guns making no effort to hide them. They nodded to Roman with a mix of respect and fear. Inside, the warehouse was transformed. High ceilings, chandeliers that probably cost more than Lena's entire apartment. A bar stretching the length of one wall, tables of food, a DJ in the corner playing music that thrummed in her chest. And people. So many people. All of them dangerous in ways Lena could feel rather than define. Breathe, Roman murmured in her ear. Lena realized she'd stopped breathing. She forced air into her lungs. Roman Vesper. A voice cut through the music. They turned. Silas Graves stood there with a smile that made Lena's skin crawl. He was younger than she expected, maybe 40, handsome in a way that felt calculated, expensive suit, perfect hair, the kind of man who looked like he belonged on magazine covers, not running a criminal empire. But his eyes were wrong, cold, empty, like looking into a void. Silas. Roman's voice was controlled. Thank you for the invitation. Of course. Silas's gaze shifted to Lena. And you brought a guest. How charming. Lena forced herself not to flinch under his stare. Lena Vale, Silas continued, the flower girl. I've heard so much about you. Funny, Lena said, voice steadier than she felt. I haven't heard much about you at all. Roman's hand tightened on her back. A warning, but Silas just laughed. I like her, he said. She's got spine. His smile widened. I can see why you're willing to start a war over her. I'm not starting anything, Roman said flatly. You are. Am I? Silas tilted his head. I thought I was just testing boundaries, seeing how far you'd go to protect what's yours. She's not property. No? Silas's eyes glittered. Then what is she? The question hung in the air. Roman didn't answer. Silas's smile turned sharp. Enjoy the party, Roman. We'll talk business later, when you're ready to negotiate terms. He walked away. Lena exhaled shakily. That was him confirming everything he suspected, Roman finished grimly. Now he knows for sure. Knows what? Roman looked at her, and for the first time she saw real fear in his eyes. That I'd burn this entire city down to keep you safe. Before Lena could respond, Vera's voice crackled in her earpiece. Second floor, east corner. 3 men talking about a shipment. Get close. Roman heard it too through his own earpiece. He nodded once. Let's work, he said. They moved through the party. Lena played her role, the scared girlfriend clinging to Roman's arm, eyes wide, overwhelmed. It wasn't hard. The pendant around her neck recorded everything. Conversations about drugs, about weapons, about politicians on Silas's payroll, about murders disguised as accidents. Evidence. All of it evidence. An hour in, Lena excused herself to the bathroom. Vera materialized beside her in the hallway. You're doing good, Vera said quietly. Keep it up. How much more do we need? Another hour, maybe less. Vera's eyes scanned the hallway. Silas is getting drunk. His people are getting careless. Just stay close to Roman and... A scream cut through the music. Vera's hand went to her gun instantly. Stay here. She was gone before Lena could argue. Lena stood frozen in the hallway, heart hammering. More screams, gunfire. The music cut off. Then chaos. People running, shouting, the sound of breaking glass and bodies hitting the floor. Lena pressed herself against the wall, mind racing. She should run. Roman told her to run, but she couldn't move. A door burst open down the hall. Roman stumbled through, blood on his shirt. Lena. He saw her and relief flashed across his face. Thank God. We need to go. Now. He grabbed her hand. They ran. Behind them, the gunfire intensified. Vera's voice crackled in the earpiece, sharp with orders. The warehouse descended into hell. Roman pulled Lena through a side exit into an alley, where Silas Graves was waiting, with a gun pointed directly at Lena's chest. Going somewhere? Silas asked pleasantly. Roman went absolutely still. Let her go, he said quietly. This is between us. Is it? Silas's gun didn't waver. Because from where I'm standing, she's the entire point. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think past the barrel of the gun aimed at her heart. You want me? Roman's voice was ice. Fine. Let her go, and I'm yours. Roman, no, Lena started. Quiet. Silas's eyes never left Roman. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me everything, your territories, your operations, your empire, all of it. And in return, he smiled. I won't kill her, yet. You're insane. I'm practical. Silas cocked the gun. You have 5 seconds to decide. Her life, or your empire. Roman's eyes met Lena's, and in that moment she saw him make his choice. Done, he said. It's yours. All of it. Roman, Lena's voice broke. Just let her go, Roman continued. Please. Silas studied him for a long moment. Then he lowered the gun. Smart man, he said, and shot Roman anyway. The gunshot cracked through the alley like thunder. Roman's body jerked backward. Blood bloomed across his chest, dark and spreading fast. He hit the ground hard. Lena's scream tore out of her throat before her brain could process what she'd just seen. She lunged forward, but Silas caught her arm, yanking her back with brutal efficiency. No! The word came out strangled. No, no, no! Roman wasn't moving. Blood pooled beneath him on the dirty concrete, spreading in a dark circle that seemed to grow with every frantic beat of Lena's heart. Shh! Silas's breath was hot against her ear. It's over now. Lena thrashed against his grip, wild and desperate. You killed him. I ended it. Silas hauled her backward toward a waiting car. There's a difference. Behind them, the warehouse erupted with more gunfire, shouting, the sound of sirens in the distance. Lena couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Her vision blurred with tears and rage and absolute horror. Roman's body lay motionless in the alley, the man who'd looked at her like she was the only real thing in his world. Dead. Silas shoved her into the back of the car. She hit the seat hard, gasping. 2 men climbed in on either side of her, blocking any escape. The door slammed shut. Through the window, Lena saw Vera burst into the alley, gun raised, face twisted with fury. She dropped to her knees beside Roman's body, pressing her hands to his chest. Then the car peeled away and Lena lost sight of them. Where are you taking me? Her voice was raw. Silas sat across from her in the spacious back seat, calm as if they were headed to dinner. Somewhere we can talk. Talk? Lena's hands clenched into fists. You just murdered. I eliminated a competitor. Silas pulled out a handkerchief and wiped a speck of blood from his cuff. Roman knew the risks. He made his choice. He chose to save me. And look where that got him. Silas's eyes were cold. Dead in an alley because he valued you more than power. Pathetic, really. Lena wanted to kill him. The thought came clear and sharp and terrifying in its intensity. She wanted to tear him apart with her bare hands. But the men on either side of her were twice her size, and her training had been 2 days, not 2 years. So she sat there shaking with rage and grief, watching the city blur past the windows. They took her to a penthouse, not as tall as Roman's, not as elegant, but expensive enough to make the point. Silas owned this city too. The men dragged her inside and shoved her into a chair. Not gently. Lena's hands were trembling so badly she had to grip the armrest to keep them still. Her dress was smeared with dirt from where Silas had grabbed her. The pendant camera still hung around her neck, probably still recording. Not that it mattered now. Roman was dead. The thought kept circling through her mind like a vulture. Dead. Gone. Because of her. Silas poured himself a drink at the bar, completely unbothered by the murder he'd just committed. You're probably wondering why you're still alive, he said conversationally. Lena didn't answer. It would be easy to kill you. Convenient, even. Silas turned to face her, glass in hand. But that would be wasteful. You have value, Lena. I'm not telling you anything. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. I don't need you to. Silas took a sip. The moment Roman pulled you into his penthouse, the moment he made you his weakness, you became leverage. Even dead, his empire has people loyal to him. Vera Knox, for instance, Marcus Chen, a dozen others who'd burn this city down to avenge him. Lena's stomach twisted. So what? You're going to use me to control them? I'm going to use you to break them. Silas set down his glass. When they find out I have you, when they see proof you're alive and suffering, they'll come for you, and when they do, I'll be ready. They won't fall for that, won't they? Silas smiled. Vera Knox spent 8 years protecting Roman. You think she's just going to abandon the woman he died for? Marcus Chen has already been making calls, rallying Roman's people. They're preparing for war. All I have to do is dangle you as bait, and they'll walk right into my trap. Lena's breath came faster. You're insane. I'm thorough. Silas moved closer. Roman made the mistake of thinking he could change, that he could clean up his empire and still survive in this world. But power doesn't work that way. The moment you show weakness, someone takes advantage. Like you did. Like I did, Silas agreed. And now his empire is mine, his territories, his operations, everything he spent 15 years building, gone in one night. Lena felt bile rise in her throat. He was trying to be better, and it killed him. Silas crouched down in front of her chair, eyes level with hers. Let that be a lesson. Morality is a luxury people like us can't afford. I'm not like you. No, you're collateral. He stood, but useful collateral. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay here. You're going to eat when I tell you to eat, sleep when I tell you to sleep, and when the time comes, you're going to help me destroy what's left of Roman's legacy. I'll never help you. Silas's smile was patronizing. You won't have a choice. He gestured to the men who'd brought her in. Take her to the spare room. Make sure she's comfortable. We wouldn't want our guest feeling unwelcome. They hauled her up. Lena fought, but it was useless. They dragged her down a hallway and threw her into a bedroom. Expensive furniture, soft lighting, a window that looked out over the city. The door locked behind her with a heavy click. Lena stood in the center of the room, chest heaving, mind racing. Roman was dead. She was a prisoner. And somewhere out there, Vera and the others were about to walk into a trap trying to save her. She sank to the floor and finally let herself break. What? 3 days passed in a fog. Lena barely slept, barely ate the food they brought her, spent hours staring out the window at the city that had taken everything from her. She kept seeing Roman's body hit the ground, kept hearing the gunshot, kept feeling the weight of his choice, her life over his empire, her safety over his survival. He'd loved her, and it had killed him. The thought sat in her chest like a stone, heavy and suffocating. On the 4th morning, Silas came to see her. He brought breakfast on a tray, set it down on the small table near the window like they were friends having brunch. You need to eat, he said. Lena didn't look at him. Go to hell. I will eventually, but not today. Silas sat across from her. I have news. She didn't respond. Vera Knox has been busy, Silas continued. She's rallying Roman's people, building alliances, planning an assault on my operations. He paused. All to get you back. Lena's hands clenched in her lap. She's good, Silas admitted. Better than I expected. She's hit 3 of my warehouses in 2 days, freed some of my workers. Stolen shipments worth $500,000. His tone was almost admiring. If I didn't know better, I'd say she actually cares about you. She cares about Roman. Lena's voice was hoarse from disuse. I'm just unfinished business. Maybe, or maybe Roman's death changed something. Silas leaned back. Either way, she's walking into a trap. Tomorrow night, she's planning to hit my main distribution center. She thinks you're being held there. Lena's head snapped up. I'm not. No, but she doesn't know that. Silas's smile was cold. I made sure she'd find the right intel, planted evidence, left a trail she couldn't resist following, and when she shows up with Roman's people, my men will be waiting. You're going to kill them. I'm going to end this. Silas stood. Roman's empire dies tomorrow, and you're going to watch it happen. He left. Lena sat frozen in the chair, mind racing. Vera was walking into an ambush. She had to warn her, but how? The pendant camera was gone. Silas's men had found it the first night and destroyed it. Her phone was long gone. The room had no computer, no way to communicate with the outside world. She was trapped, helpless, just like Silas wanted. Lena stood and went to the window, pressed her palms against the glass, looked out at the city sprawling below. Somewhere out there, Vera was preparing to die, trying to save her. Somewhere out there, people loyal to Roman were about to be slaughtered, and Lena could do nothing to stop it. She slammed her fist against the window, once, twice, until her knuckles split and blood smeared the glass. It didn't help. Nothing helped. She sank to the floor beneath the window and pulled her knees to her chest. I'm sorry, she whispered to the empty room, to Roman's memory, to Vera and everyone else about to die because of her. I'm so sorry. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She paced the room like a caged animal, mind churning through possibilities and discarding them all as useless. The door was locked from the outside. The window didn't open. Guards were posted in the hallway. She could hear them talking, laughing, completely unconcerned with the woman locked inside. She had no weapons, no allies, no way out. Around midnight, she heard voices in the hallway. Not the guards. Someone else. Lena pressed her ear to the door. Confirmed for tomorrow night, a man was saying. Knox is bringing at least 20 people, maybe more. And our side? That was Silas's voice. 50, plus the building is rigged. The moment they're inside, we blow the exits. Good. I want this clean. No survivors, no witnesses. What about the girl? A pause. Bring her, Silas said. I want her to see what loyalty to Roman Vesper costs. Footsteps, moving away. Lena backed away from the door, heart pounding. 50 men. Explosives. Vera and 20 people walking into a death trap. She had to do something. But what? She looked around the room desperately. Furniture too heavy to move. Nothing sharp enough to use as a weapon. The lamp maybe, but what good would that do against armed guards? Her eyes landed on the window. Specifically, on the latch. It didn't open, but that didn't mean it couldn't be broken. Lena crossed to the nightstand and yanked the lamp free. Heavy, solid base. Not much, but something. She hefted it, testing the weight. Then she swung it at the window as hard as she could. The glass spiderwebbed but didn't break. She swung again. Again. On the fourth hit, the window shattered outward. Alarms screamed through the penthouse. Lena didn't wait. She grabbed the heaviest blanket from the bed, wrapped it around her arm, and knocked out the remaining glass. Cold air rushed in. She looked down. 23 stories. No fire escape. No ledge. Just a straight drop to the street below. The door burst open behind her. Guards rushed in, shouting. Lena turned to face them, lamp still gripped in her bloody hands. Stay back, she said. They didn't. The first one grabbed for her. Lena swung the lamp with everything she had. It connected with his temple with a sickening crack. He went down hard. The second guard pulled a gun. Lena dove to the side as he fired. The bullet missed her by inches and punched through the wall. She came up swinging, catching him in the knee. He buckled. She ran. Out the door. Down the hallway. No plan. No destination. Just pure survival instinct driving her forward. More guards appeared ahead of her. Lena skidded to a stop, spun around. Silas stood at the other end of the hallway, flanked by armed men. Going somewhere? His voice was calm. Lena's chest heaved. Blood dripped from her knuckles. Her arm throbbed where glass had cut through the blanket. She was trapped. Again. Impressive, Silas said, walking toward her slowly. I underestimated you. That won't happen again. Lena backed up until her shoulders hit the wall. The guards closed in from both sides. Silas stopped a few feet away, studying her with something that might have been respect. You have spirit, he said. I can see why Roman liked you. Don't, Lena's voice shook. Don't say his name. Why not? He's dead. Names are all that's left. Silas tilted his head. Tell me something. If you could go back, would you still send that message? The one that started all of this? Lena's throat tightened. Yes. Even knowing it would get him killed? He made his own choices. Did he? Silas moved closer. Or did you make them for him the moment you became something he couldn't afford to lose? The words hit like a slap. Lena's hands clenched into fists. You don't know anything about him. I know he was weak. Silas's tone was matter-of-fact. I know he let emotion cloud his judgment. I know he died because he cared more about you than survival. That's not weakness, Lena's voice broke. That's being human. In this world, being human gets you killed. Silas gestured to his men. Take her back to the room, double the guards, and sedate her if she tries anything else. The guards grabbed her arms. Lena fought, but she was exhausted and outnumbered. They dragged her back down the hallway toward the room with the broken window. Wait. Silas's voice stopped them. He walked up to Lena, studying her face with cold calculation. Tomorrow night, you're coming with me, he said. You're going to watch Vera Knox die. Watch all of Roman's people die. And then you're going to understand that everything he built, everything he fought for, was worthless. Because in the end, I won. Lena spat in his face. Silas didn't even flinch. He just wiped his cheek calmly and smiled. "I'm going to enjoy breaking you," he said. Then he nodded to the guards. They threw her back into the room. This time they zip-tied her wrists to the bed frame. The door locked. Lena lay on the bed, arms stretched above her head, zip ties cutting into her skin. And for the first time since Roman died, she let herself feel the full weight of her helplessness. She couldn't save Vera, couldn't warn anyone, couldn't do anything but watch as the people who tried to protect her walked to their deaths. Tears slid down her temples into her hair. "I'm sorry," she whispered again. "Roman, I'm so sorry." The city lights glittered beyond the broken window, beautiful and indifferent. Morning came gray and cold. Guards cut the zip ties and hauled Lena to her feet. Her wrists were raw and bleeding. Her whole body ached. They force-fed her breakfast, made her shower, gave her clean clothes, jeans, a t-shirt, nothing special. She didn't fight them. What was the point? By evening, Silas came for her personally. "Time to go," he said. They took her down to the garage, put her in the back of an armored SUV. Silas sat beside her, relaxed and confident. The drive took 20 minutes. They pulled up to a warehouse in the industrial district. Huge, old, windows dark. Silas's men were everywhere, on rooftops, in doorways, behind vehicles, all armed, all waiting. "This is where it happens," Silas said. "In about an hour, Vera Knox and her people will breach that building, and they'll never leave it." Lena's stomach turned. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." Silas checked his watch. "Roman's empire needs to die completely. No loose ends. No one left who might seek revenge. They'll know it's a trap." "Will they?" Silas smiled. "They're desperate, emotional, making the same mistake Roman made, letting feelings override strategy." Lena looked at the warehouse, at all the men surrounding it. Vera was smart, but was she smart enough to see through this? The minutes ticked by. Silas received updates through an earpiece, his men getting into position. Final checks on the explosives. Everything proceeding according to plan. Lena sat silent and numb. This was it. The end of everything Roman had built. All because she'd sent a text message to the wrong number. Then, movement. Dark figures approaching the warehouse from multiple angles. Vera's team, Lena's breath caught. She counted them. 18, maybe 20. All heavily armed, moving with military precision. They reached the warehouse, breached the doors, disappeared inside. Silas leaned forward, eyes gleaming. "Now!" One of his men spoke into a radio. "Blow the exits." Nothing happened. Silas frowned. "I said blow the exits." "Sir, the charges aren't responding." "What?" Gunfire erupted, but not from inside the warehouse, from behind them. Silas spun around as his men started dropping. Precise shots, professional execution. More figures appeared from the shadows. A lot more. Lena's heart leaped. These weren't Vera's people. These were reinforcements. Silas's face went pale. "That's impossible." A voice crackled over his radio. Cold, female, furious. "You really thought I'd walk into your trap without insurance?" "Vera." Silas grabbed the radio. "Where are you?" "Watching you lose." The gunfire intensified. Silas's men were being systematically taken apart by an enemy they hadn't seen coming. Silas's hand clamped on Lena's arm. "Move. Now." He dragged her out of the SUV. Chaos surrounded them. His men scrambling for cover. Return fire. Shouting. The metallic smell of blood and gunpowder thick in the air. Silas hauled Lena toward a side building, using her as a shield. A bullet pinged off the wall beside them. Silas cursed and changed direction, pulling her down an alley. They were halfway through when someone stepped out of the shadows ahead. Vera Knox, gun raised, eyes like ice. "Let her go," Vera said quietly. Silas pulled his own weapon and pressed it to Lena's temple. "I don't think so." Lena went very still. The cold metal against her skin. The smell of gun oil. Silas's breath hot on her neck. "You're surrounded," Vera said. "Your men are dead or dying. This is over." "Not yet." Silas's voice was tight. "I walk away with her, or she dies right here." "Then she dies." Vera's gun didn't waver. "And so do you." Lena's heart hammered, Vera, quiet. Vera's eyes stayed locked on Silas. I've spent 4 days planning this. 4 days calling in every favor Roman ever earned. 4 days rallying an army to tear you apart. You think I'm going to let you walk away because you have a hostage? Silas's grip tightened. You won't shoot. Not while I'm holding her. Won't I? The standoff stretched, seconds feeling like hours. Then Vera's expression changed. Something flickered across her face. Not fear, not doubt. Recognition. She lowered her gun slightly. Lena, she said, when I shoot, drop. Lena's breath caught. What? Trust me. Everything happened at once. Vera fired. Lena threw herself to the ground. The bullet went over her head and caught Silas in the shoulder. He stumbled backward, gun clattering from his grip. Lena scrambled away. Vera was on Silas in seconds, kicking his weapon out of reach, pressing her gun to his forehead. Move and I'll paint this alley with your brain, she said flatly. Silas stared up at her, clutching his bleeding shoulder. You can't kill me. You need me alive for... I don't need you for anything. Vera's finger tightened on the trigger. Vera? Lena's voice was hoarse. Don't. Vera didn't look away from Silas. He killed Roman. I know. He was going to kill you. I know that too. Lena got to her feet, legs shaking. But Roman spent his whole life building an empire on violence. He died trying to be better than that. If you kill Silas now, you're just proving that everything he tried to change was meaningless. Vera's jaw clenched. He deserves to die. Yes, he does. Lena moved closer. But he deserves to rot in a cell even more. Let the system he corrupted be the thing that destroys him. For a long moment, Vera didn't move. Then slowly she lowered the gun. Get up, she told Silas. He struggled to his feet, still clutching his shoulder. Vera zip-tied his hands with brutal efficiency. You're going to tell us everything. Every politician you bought. Every cop on your payroll. Every crime you ever committed. And then you're going to spend the rest of your miserable life in a maximum security cell thinking about Roman Vesper. Silas's laugh was bitter. You think I'm afraid of prison? No. Vera leaned close. I think you're afraid of being forgotten. And that's exactly what's going to happen. Roman built an empire. You? You'll be a footnote, a failure, the man who lost everything to a dead man's legacy. She shoved him toward her men who'd appeared at the alley entrance. Then she turned to Lena. For the first time, Vera's expression softened, just slightly. You okay? Lena shook her head. No. Yeah, me neither. Vera's voice was rough. Come on, let's get you out of here. They took Lena to a safe house on the outskirts of the city. Small, secure. Nothing like Roman's penthouse. Vera stayed with her while doctors checked her over, cleaned her wounds, gave her something for the pain and the shock. Lena sat numb through all of it. When the doctors left, Vera poured 2 glasses of whiskey and handed one to Lena. Drink, she said. Lena drank. It burned going down. Vera sat across from her looking exhausted. The police have Silas, along with 43 of his people. The evidence we collected at the party, plus the recordings from tonight, plus his own confession. It's over. His empire's done. Lena stared into her glass. How many did we lose? 3 dead, 7 injured. Vera's voice was flat. Could have been worse. Could have been better. Yeah. They sat in silence. How did you know? Lena asked finally. About the trap? I didn't. Not for sure. Vera took a drink. But I knew Silas would use you as bait. Knew he'd want me emotional and reckless. So I planned for both scenarios. The team that went into the warehouse was a decoy. The real assault came from outside. That's... Lena didn't know what it was. You risked lives on a guess. I risked lives to save yours. Vera met her eyes. Roman would have done the same. Lena's throat tightened. He's really gone. Yes. I keep thinking I'll wake up and this will all be some horrible nightmare. It's not. Vera's voice was quiet. Roman Vesper is dead, and the city is going to feel that loss for a long time. Lena set down her glass with shaking hands. I got him killed. No, Silas got him killed. He died protecting me. Kai, he died protecting what mattered to him. Vera leaned forward. You weren't a mistake, Lena. You were the best thing that ever happened to him. I watched Roman for 8 years. Watched him build an empire while destroying himself piece by piece. Then you showed up and I saw him actually happy for the first time. Actually hopeful. And then he died. Yeah, he did. Vera's eyes were hard. But he died human, not a monster. Not the thing this city tried to turn him into. He died saving someone he loved. And if you think for 1 second he'd regret that choice, you didn't know him at all. The words hit Lena like a physical blow. She broke. Finally, completely. 8 days of horror and fear and grief came pouring out in great heaving sobs that shook her entire body. Vera didn't move, didn't try to comfort her, just sat there and let Lena fall apart. When the tears finally stopped, Lena felt hollowed out, empty. What happens now? She whispered. Now you decide who you want to be, Vera said. Roman's empire is in pieces. His people are scattered. Some will try to rebuild, some will disappear. Some will probably try to kill each other for what's left. And you? Vera was quiet for a long moment. I'm going to make sure Roman's legitimate businesses survive. The charities, the investments, everything he built trying to be better. Someone should carry that forward. Can I help? Vera studied her. You sure? The easy thing would be to walk away. Change your name. Start over somewhere Silas's people and Roman's enemies can't find you. Lena thought about it, about running, about safety, about going back to being the person she was before that accidental text message. No, she said finally. Roman died trying to change. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. Vera's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes. Respect, maybe. Okay, she said. Then we have work to do. 3 weeks later, Lena stood in front of a mirror in a hotel room adjusting her collar. Black suit, professional, put together. Nothing like the terrified girl in the blood-stained dress from Silas's party. Vera appeared in the doorway. Ready? No. Lena turned to face her. But let's go anyway. They took a car to the courthouse. Silas Graves' trial had been fast-tracked. The evidence was overwhelming. The prosecution had 47 charges ranging from murder to corruption to human trafficking. He was going to prison for the rest of his life. Today was sentencing. Lena and Vera sat in the back of the courtroom as the judge read the verdict. Guilty on all counts. Multiple life sentences, no possibility of parole. Silas didn't react. Just stood there in his orange jumpsuit, face blank. As they led him away, he turned and looked directly at Lena. She met his gaze, didn't flinch, didn't look away, just stared back at the man who'd killed Roman and tried to destroy everything he'd built. Silas smiled. Then he was gone. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Lena and Vera pushed through without comment. They got in the car and drove in silence. Finally, Vera spoke. How do you feel? I don't know, Lena said honestly. He's locked up. His empire's gone. Everything Roman wanted to stop is stopped. But Roman's still dead. Yeah, Vera nodded. Justice doesn't bring people back. Just make sure their deaths meant something. They drove to the cemetery. It was small, private. The kind of place Roman had arranged years ago for the few people in his life he'd actually cared about. His grave was simple, just his name and dates. No epitaph. Lena knelt beside it, placed her hand on the cold stone. I did it, she whispered. Silas is gone. Your empire... Her voice cracked. The parts worth saving are going to survive. Vera's making sure of it. The charities, the legitimate businesses, everything you were trying to build. The wind rustled through the trees. Lena closed her eyes. I wish you were here to see it. I wish... She stopped. I wish I could tell you I love you one more time, that sending that message was the best mistake I ever made, even with everything that happened after. She sat there for a long time. When she finally stood, Vera was waiting by the car. You okay? Vera asked. Lena looked back at the grave one last time. I will be, she said. They got in the car. As they drove away from the cemetery, Lena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Her heart stopped. She opened it with trembling hands. The flower shop on 5th and Main is for sale. Thought you might be interested. Lena looked at Vera. Vera kept her eyes on the road. Mrs. Chen got her insurance payout. She's retiring. Decided to sell to someone who'd actually care about the place. I can't afford... You can now. Vera's tone was matter-of-fact. Roman left everything to you. The legitimate businesses, the investments, his personal accounts, all of it. Lena stared at her. What? He changed his will 3 weeks before he died. Left me a letter explaining why. Vera's jaw tightened. Said you were the only person he trusted not to turn it all back into what it was before. But I can't. You can. Vera finally looked at her. Roman believed you could. So do I. The question is whether you believe it. Lena looked down at the text. A flower shop, normal, simple, everything she'd lost. But buying it now, with Roman's money, with his empire funding her fresh start, that wasn't running away. That was carrying forward the change he'd died for. Okay, she said quietly. Okay, I'll buy it. Lena met Vera's eyes. And I'm going to make it work. For Mrs. Chen, for Roman, for... She stopped. For me. Vera almost smiled. Good. They drove through the city. Blackwater stretched out around them, ugly and beautiful and dangerous and alive. The city that had taken everything from Lena, the city that had given her Roman. The city that would never be the same because a woman had accidentally sent a text message to the wrong number and fallen in love with the most dangerous man alive. As the car turned onto 5th Street, Lena saw the shop, burned but still standing, ready to be rebuilt, just like her. 6 months after Roman's death, Lena stood in the rebuilt flower shop at dawn, surrounded by roses that hadn't bloomed yet. The space looked nothing like it had before the fire. Everything was new. Clean lines, modern fixtures, glass cases that caught the early light and turned it gold. Mrs. Chen's old wooden counter was gone, replaced with sleek marble that Lena had chosen herself. But the smell was the same, earth and petals and life. She was arranging a display of white lilies when the bell above the door chimed. Vera walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. You're here early, Vera said, handing her one. Couldn't sleep. Lena took the coffee gratefully. Inventory came in wrong, again. And we have the Morrison wedding this weekend, and they changed their entire color scheme yesterday. Breathe. Lena stopped. Breathed. Vera leaned against the counter, studying her. You're running yourself into the ground. I'm fine. You're not. Vera's tone was flat. You've been here every morning at 5 for 3 weeks. You're not eating. You look like hell. Thanks. I'm serious, Lena. Vera set down her coffee. Roman's money bought this place, but it won't keep you alive if you work yourself to death. Lena's hand stilled on the lilies. I need to make this work. Why? Because... She stopped. Couldn't finish. Because if the shop failed, it meant Roman died for nothing. Because if she couldn't build something good out of the empire he'd left behind, then what was the point? Because every morning she woke up in an empty apartment, and the only thing keeping her from drowning in grief was the flowers. Vera seemed to read all of it on her face. He wouldn't want this, Vera said quietly. You don't know what he'd want. He's dead. The words came out harsher than Lena meant them to. Vera didn't flinch. I knew him for 8 years, and I know he didn't save your life so you could destroy yourself trying to honor his memory. Lena turned away, blinking back tears that came too easily these days. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Live in a world where he's gone. Her voice cracked. Everything I touch, everything I build, it's all built on his blood money, his empire, his death. I can't escape it. You're not supposed to escape it. Vera moved closer. You're supposed to transform it. That's what Roman wanted. That's what you're doing. By selling flowers? By choosing life over death. Vera's eyes were intense. Every bouquet you sell, every wedding you do, every person who walks out of here with something beautiful. That's you choosing what Roman chose. To be better than the violence that made him. Lena's throat tightened. The bell chimed again. They both turned. A man stood in the doorway. Expensive suit, graying hair, smile that didn't reach his eyes. Lena didn't recognize him, but Vera did. Her hand moved instinctively toward her hip where she used to carry a gun. Stopped when she remembered she'd stopped carrying 6 months ago. Marcus Chen, Vera said flatly. The man's smile widened. Vera Knox, it's been a while. Lena looked between them. Who? Marcus ran Roman's Eastern operations, Vera said, not taking her eyes off him. Before Roman shut them down 2 years ago. Understanding clicked into place. This was one of Roman's people, one of the ones who'd scattered after his death. Marcus walked further into the shop, hands in his pockets, casual. Beautiful place. Really. You've done well with Roman's money. Lena's spine straightened. What do you want? Just to talk. Marcus picked up a rose from the display, examined it. See how you're doing. Make sure Roman's legacy is being properly managed. His legacy is being transformed, Vera said coldly, into something legitimate, like he wanted. Is it? Marcus set down the rose. Because from where I'm standing, a florist and a former bodyguard playing business owner isn't much of a legacy for a man who controlled half this city. Lena felt anger flare in her chest. Get out! I'm not here to cause trouble. Marcus raised his hands, placating. I'm here to make you an offer. We're not interested, Vera said. You haven't heard it yet. Marcus pulled out his phone, pulled up something, turned the screen toward them. Roman left behind more than just money. He left connections, resources, people who were very interested in reclaiming what's theirs. The screen showed a list of names. Lena recognized some of them from the recording she'd made at Silas's party. Politicians, businessmen, people Roman had dealt with. What is this? She asked. Insurance. Marcus pocketed the phone. Roman kept detailed records of everyone he worked with, every deal, every favor, every crime. He was smart like that. And when he died, those records went to his lawyer, who happens to be very motivated by money. Vera's expression went dangerous. You bought Roman's files. I acquired information that rightfully belongs to his successors. Marcus's smile was thin. Which, technically, is you, Lena, since he left everything to you. Lena's stomach turned. I don't want those files. That's unfortunate, because the people on that list very much want them, and they're willing to pay extremely well to make sure they disappear. Marcus leaned against the counter. $3 million, split between us. All you have to do is sign over the rights. No, Lena said immediately. Think about it. I said no. Marcus's expression hardened. You're making a mistake. The mistake would be helping you profit off Roman's death. Lena's voice was steady. He spent the last 2 years of his life trying to get away from people like you. I'm not going to undo that for money. People like me? Marcus laughed. Sweetheart, Roman was exactly like me. He just got sentimental at the end. Get out, Vera said quietly. Something in her tone made Marcus pause. He looked at her, really looked, and whatever he saw made him take a step back. You have 48 hours, he said. After that, I go to those people directly, tell them where the files are, who has access. His eyes shifted to Lena, and what leverage they might use to get them. The threat was clear. Marcus walked to the door, stopped, turned back. Roman died protecting you, he said. Be a shame if that sacrifice was wasted because you were too stubborn to be practical. He left. The bell chimed cheerfully in his wake. Lena stood frozen, heart hammering. Vera pulled out her phone immediately. I'm calling our lawyer. We need to secure those files before... Before what? Lena's voice shook. Before Marcus sells them? Before the people on that list come after us? Before this whole thing spirals into exactly the kind of violence Roman died trying to end? Vera lowered her phone. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we should give them up. Lena's hands clenched. Destroy the files. Let those people go. Stop holding on to Roman's empire like it's something worth preserving. Those files are evidence, proof of crimes. That happened years ago. Lena turned to face her. Roman's dead. Silas is in prison. The empire is broken. What's the point of holding on to blackmail material except to keep us tied to that world? Vera stared at her. You want to just let them win? I want to be free, Lena's voice cracked. I want to run this shop and sell flowers and not wake up every morning wondering who's going to threaten me next. I want... She stopped. I want what Roman never got to have. Peace. Peace doesn't exist when you have enemies. Then maybe we stop making enemies. Vera's jaw clenched. You destroy those files. Every corrupt politician and criminal Roman ever dealt with goes free. They win. They get away with it. Or they spend the rest of their lives wondering when the hammer's going to fall. Lena moved closer. Roman held that information for years. Never used it. Just kept it as insurance. Maybe the fear of exposure is enough. And if it's not, then we deal with it. Lena's voice was firm. Together, without Roman's ghost hanging over us. Vera was silent for a long moment. Then she turned away, ran a hand through her hair. You're asking me to let go of the only leverage we have. I'm asking you to trust that we're stronger than the threats people like Marcus make. That's naive. Maybe. Lena didn't back down. But I'd rather be naive and free than paranoid and trapped forever. Vera looked at her. Really looked. And something in her expression shifted. 48 hours, she said finally. We have 48 hours to decide. Let's not make it in a panic. Lena nodded, but even as she went back to arranging flowers, her hands trembled. That night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, mind churning through scenarios. Marcus would go to the people on that list. They'd come for the files. They'd use whatever leverage they could. Threats, violence, worse. And Lena would be right back in the nightmare she'd barely escaped 6 months ago, unless she acted first. The thought came quietly. Dangerous, but clear. She sat up in bed, heart racing, grabbed her phone, found Vera's number, hesitated, then made a different call. The lawyer answered on the third ring, voice groggy. Ms. Vale? It's 2 a.m. I need access to Roman's files, Lena said. All of them, tonight. A pause. That's highly irregular. I'm the sole beneficiary. Those files are mine. I want them. Now. Another pause. Then a sigh. I'll meet you at my office in an hour. Lena hung up, got dressed, left the apartment before she could second-guess herself. The lawyer's office was in a high-rise downtown, empty at this hour except for security and cleaning crews. He met her in the lobby, looking exhausted and annoyed. This better be important, he muttered, leading her to the elevator. It is. They rode up in silence. His office was all dark wood and law books and the smell of old paper. He unlocked a safe in the wall, pulled out several thick folders. Everything Roman Vesper left behind, he said, setting them on the desk. Financial records, property deeds, and he pulled out an encrypted hard drive. This, his insurance policy. Lena stared at the drive. Everything. Years of Roman's careful documentation. Every crime, every deal, every person who'd ever crossed him. The power to destroy dozens of lives. Or the power to set everyone free. I need privacy, she said. The lawyer frowned. Ms. Vale, please. He hesitated, then nodded and left the office, closing the door behind him. Lena sat down at the desk, plugged in the drive, entered the password the lawyer had given her. Files appeared, hundreds of them, organized by name, date, crime. She clicked through them randomly. Senator Williams accepting bribes, Police Captain Morrison covering up murders, business mogul Chen running money laundering operations, on and on. Years of corruption and violence, all documented in Roman's meticulous handwriting and audio recordings. This was his legacy. Not the flower shop, not the legitimate businesses. This, power through fear and information. Lena's hands hovered over the keyboard. She could destroy it all right now, delete the files, shatter the drive. Let everyone on that list go free and remove the target from her back forever. Or she could use it. The thought came unbidden. Marcus thought he could threaten her, thought she was weak. Just a florist playing at being a businesswoman. But she had Roman's empire at her fingertips. She could make Marcus disappear with one phone call, could destroy everyone who threatened her, could become exactly what Roman had spent his life trying not to be. Lena's finger rested on the delete key. One press. That's all it would take. The door opened. Lena spun around. Vera stood there, face grim. The lawyer called me. Said you were doing something stupid. I'm destroying the files. No! Vera crossed the room fast. You're not. It's the only way. It's suicide. Vera slammed her hand on the desk. You delete those files and we have nothing. Marcus goes to those people and tells them we're defenseless, and they tear us apart. So what do you suggest? Lena's voice rose. We hold on to them forever? Live our lives looking over our shoulders? Become the thing Roman died trying to escape? We use them strategically. Vera's eyes were hard. We remind Marcus and everyone else that threatening us has consequences. That's extortion. That's survival. They stared at each other, two women standing over the remains of a dead man's empire, trying to decide what kind of people they wanted to be. I can't do this, Lena whispered. I can't become him. You won't. Vera's voice softened slightly. Because you'll have me, and I won't let you. Lena looked down at the drive, at all those files, all that power, all that blood. What did Roman do with them, she asked, when he had this information? Nothing, Vera said. He kept it as insurance, made sure people knew he had it. That was enough. Was it? It kept him alive for 15 years in a city that eats people like him for breakfast. Vera sat on the edge of the desk. Look, I'm not saying we use these files to hurt people. I'm saying we use them to protect ourselves. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. Vera's tone was firm. Roman used information to build power. We're using it to build safety. That's not the same thing. Lena wanted to believe her. Wanted to think there was a way to hold on to this leverage without becoming the monsters who'd created it. But her finger still hovered over the delete key. Lena, Vera's voice was quiet. I know you want to be better than this world, better than what Roman was. But being better doesn't mean being stupid. It means being smart enough to protect what matters. What matters? You. Vera met her eyes. Me. The life we're trying to build. The thing Roman died for. Lena's throat tightened. She thought about the flower shop, about the 6 months she'd spent rebuilding it, about every bouquet she'd arranged and every customer she'd helped, and every small moment of beauty she'd created in a city that had tried to destroy her. That was what mattered. Not power, not revenge, just the ability to keep building. Okay, she said finally, we keep the files, but we don't use them unless we have no other choice. Vera nodded. Agreed. Lena ejected the drive, handed it to Vera. You hold on to it. I don't trust myself not to delete it in a moment of weakness. Vera took it, expression unreadable. You're stronger than you think. I really hope so. They left the lawyer's office as dawn was breaking. Outside, the city was waking up, traffic building, people starting their days. The world moving forward like Roman Vesper had never existed. Lena's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Time's up. You made your choice. Now live with the consequences. MC Marcus. Lena showed Vera the screen. Vera's jaw clenched. He's moving faster than I thought. What do we do? We prepare. Vera pulled out her own phone, started making calls. I'm pulling in some of Roman's old security team, people I trust. We're going to lock down the shop, your apartment, everywhere you go. Vera? This isn't negotiable. Vera's tone was steel. Marcus just declared war. We respond accordingly. The next 48 hours were a nightmare. 3 of Marcus's people showed up at the flower shop making threats. Vera's security team escorted them out. Someone vandalized Lena's apartment building, spray painting warnings on the walls. Vera moved Lena to a safe house. Marcus called the shop directly, voice pleasant and deadly. Last chance. Sign over the files or people start getting hurt. Lena hung up on him. That night, one of Roman's old warehouses burned to the ground. One Lena had been planning to convert into a community center. She stood across the street watching it burn, Vera beside her, security team surrounding them. This is my fault, Lena said quietly. No, it's Marcus's. Vera's face was illuminated by the flames. He's escalating, trying to scare you into compliance. It's working. Good. Fear keeps you sharp. Vera turned to her. But it doesn't mean we back down. What's the alternative? Let him burn down everything I'm trying to build? The alternative is we end him. Vera's voice was flat. Permanently. Lena stared at her. You want to kill him. I want to remove the threat. There's a difference. No, there isn't. Lena's voice shook. That's exactly what Silas would have said. What Roman spent years doing. We can't let him destroy you. Vera grabbed her shoulders. Listen to me. Marcus isn't going to stop. He wants those files and he'll kill you to get them. This isn't about being better than our enemies. This is about survival. Then we go to the police. Half the police are on that list. Vera's grip tightened. The files prove it. We can't trust anyone except ourselves. Lena pulled away, chest heaving. Behind them, the warehouse collapsed inward, sending sparks into the night sky. Everything she'd tried to build, going up in flames, just like before, just like always. I need to think, she said. We don't have time. I said I need to think. Lena's voice cracked. Please, just give me space. Vera looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded. 24 hours. Then we make a decision. Together. Lena went to the cemetery alone. Vera didn't like it, but Lena insisted. She needed to be by herself. Needed to think without security teams and burning buildings and the weight of other people's expectations. Roman's grave was quiet in the late afternoon light. Lena sat beside it, back against the headstone, knees pulled to her chest. I don't know what to do, she said to the empty air, to the memory of a man who died 6 months ago. Everyone keeps telling me what you'd want, what you'd do, but you're not here to ask. The wind rustled through the trees. Vera wants to kill Marcus, use your files to destroy him, become exactly what you spent years trying not to be. Lena's voice was hoarse. And part of me wants that too, wants to make him pay for burning down the warehouse, for threatening me, for turning your empire into a weapon again. She pressed her palms against her eyes. But another part of me just wants to walk away, destroy the files, give up the money, go somewhere far away and forget any of this ever happened. Silence. Tell me what to do, Lena whispered. Please, I need... A voice behind her made her jump. He'd tell you to trust yourself. Lena spun around. A man stood there. Older, maybe 60. Gray hair, kind eyes, expensive but understated clothing. She didn't recognize him. Who are you? She asked, getting to her feet quickly. My name is David Park. The man raised his hands, showing he was unarmed. I was Roman's lawyer, his real one, not the corporate attorney you met the other night. Lena's heart raced. What do you want? To deliver something Roman asked me to give you. David reached into his jacket slowly, pulled out an envelope. He left instructions. If he died, I was to wait 6 months, then find you. Give you this. Lena stared at the envelope, her name in Roman's handwriting. How do I know this is real? She asked. You don't. David held it out. But Roman knew you'd end up here eventually, at his grave, trying to figure out what to do with the mess he left behind. He knew you better than you think. Lena took the envelope with shaking hands. David stepped back. He also wanted me to tell you something. The files you're so worried about? He made copies, multiple copies, stored in locations even I don't know about, with instructions to release them if anything happens to you. Her breath caught. What? He protected you even after death. David's expression was gentle. Marcus Chen can't touch you without destroying himself. Neither can anyone else on that list. Roman made sure of it. But that means, it means you're not responsible for those files anymore. You don't have to decide whether to use them or destroy them. They exist independent of you, Roman's final insurance policy. David turned to leave. Read the letter. He explains everything. Wait. But David was already walking away through the cemetery. Lena stood frozen, envelope clutched in her hands. 6 months. Roman had been dead for 6 months, and he was still protecting her. Her hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper, Roman's handwriting. She read it there, standing beside his grave, tears streaming down her face. Lena, if you're reading this, I'm dead, and you're probably standing at my grave trying to figure out what the hell to do with the empire I left you. First, I'm sorry. For everything. For dragging you into my world. For making you a target. For dying and leaving you to clean up my mess. Second, stop trying to be me. You're not built for this life, and that's exactly why I loved you. You reminded me what it felt like to be human instead of a monster. The files exist. They'll always exist, but they're not your burden anymore. I made arrangements. If anyone threatens you, those files go public automatically. You don't have to do anything. Just live. Just build the life I never got to have. Marcus Chen is dangerous but predictable. He'll threaten you to get the files. When that doesn't work, he'll escalate. But he's scared. Deep down, he knows if he actually hurts you, everything falls apart. Use that. Or don't. Walk away. Destroy the shop. Leave the city. I'll still love you. Dead men don't judge. You asked me once if people can change. I said yes, if they want to. I wanted to. For you. I hope I got far enough before the end. Trust Vera. She's harsh but loyal, and she cares about you more than she'll ever admit. Trust yourself. You're stronger than you think, braver than you know. And Lena? Let me go. Don't spend the rest of your life honoring my memory. Spend it building something that makes you happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. All my love, Roman. Lena read it 3 times. Then she folded it carefully and pressed it to her chest. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll try. Basing. She called Vera from the cemetery. I'm meeting with Marcus, Lena said. Absolutely not. I'm meeting with him. Tomorrow. Public place. I'm ending this. Vera was silent for a long moment. You have a plan? Yes. Does it involve getting yourself killed? No. Then I'm listening. Lena took a deep breath. Set it up. Noon tomorrow. The plaza downtown. Just me and Marcus. No security teams. No weapons. Just a conversation. He'll never agree to that. He will. Lena's voice was steady. Because he thinks I'm weak. He thinks I'll cave. Let him think that until it's too late. She could almost hear Vera's smile through the phone. What are you planning? To be exactly what Roman said I was. Lena looked at his grave one last time. Human, and smarter than Marcus gives me credit for. The next day, Lena stood in the center of the downtown plaza at exactly noon. She wore jeans and a simple jacket, no weapons, no wire, nothing except Roman's letter folded in her pocket. The plaza was busy, lunch crowd, tourists, people going about their normal lives. Marcus appeared from the crowd right on time. He looked pleased, confident, like he'd already won. Ms. Vale, he said, stopping a few feet away. I'm surprised you agreed to meet. I'm tired of running, Lena said simply. Smart. Marcus's smile was patronizing. So, do we have a deal? You sign over the files, I make all of this go away? No. His smile faltered. Excuse me? I said no. Lena's voice was calm. I'm not signing over anything. I'm not giving you the files. I'm not playing this game anymore. Marcus's expression hardened. Then you're making a fatal mistake. Am I? Lena pulled out her phone, pulled up a video, turned the screen toward him. Because I think you're the one who miscalculated. The video showed Marcus meeting with a known criminal, discussing illegal operations, planning violence, all recorded in crystal clear quality. Marcus's face went pale. Where did you... Roman's insurance policy didn't stop with the files you know about. Lena's voice was steel. He had people following you for years, documenting everything, just in case. You're bluffing. Am I? Lena pocketed her phone. I have 3 years of evidence against you, Marcus. Every crime, every threat, every illegal deal, all time-stamped, all verified, ready to be delivered to every law enforcement agency in the city the moment something happens to me. Marcus stared at her. Here's what's going to happen, Lena continued. You're going to walk away, leave the city, never contact me again. And in exchange, those recordings stay buried. You get to live your life. I get to live mine. And if I refuse, then I release everything. Lena's eyes were hard. You go to prison. Everyone you work with goes to prison. Your entire operation collapses. And I still get to walk away because Roman made sure I'm protected even after death. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. You think this changes anything? You think having evidence makes you safe? No. Being willing to use it makes me safe. Lena stepped closer. Roman hesitated. He kept the files as insurance but never pulled the trigger. But I'm not Roman. I'm just a florist who's had enough of people like you threatening her. And I will burn your entire world down without a second thought if you push me. For the first time, real fear flickered across Marcus's face. You have 24 hours, Lena said. After that, I assume you're a threat and act accordingly. She turned to walk away. He made you weak. Marcus called after her. Roman. He filled your head with ideas about being better, being human. But this city doesn't care about that. It'll eat you alive the moment you let your guard down. Lena stopped, turned back. Maybe, she said, but at least I'll die as myself, not as a monster pretending to be a man. She walked away through the crowd. Didn't look back. Her heart hammered the entire way across the plaza. When she reached the edge, Vera materialized beside her. Did it work? Vera asked quietly. I don't know. Lena's hands were shaking, but I meant every word. Vera studied her face, then slowly she smiled. Roman would be proud. Roman would think I'm insane. Same thing. They walked together through the city. Behind them, Marcus stood alone in the plaza, surrounded by normal people living normal lives, deciding whether to fight or run. Lena didn't know which he'd choose, but for the first time in 6 months, she felt like she could breathe. That night, Lena was arranging flowers in the shop when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Heavy breathing on the other end. Then a voice. Weak, pained, familiar. Lena. Her blood turned to ice. That voice. She knew that voice. Roman? She whispered. The line went dead. Lena stood frozen, phone pressed to her ear, heart hammering so hard she thought it might explode. It wasn't possible. Roman was dead. She'd seen his body, seen the blood, attended the funeral. It wasn't possible. The door to the shop burst open. Vera rushed in, face pale. Lena, we have a problem. I just got a call. Lena's voice was barely audible. It sounded like, I know. Vera's hands were shaking, something Lena had never seen before. I got one too, and there's more. Someone just sent this to my phone. She held up her screen. A photo, dark, grainy, like it had been taken through a car window at night, but clear enough to see. A man lying in a hospital bed, hooked to machines, bandaged, unconscious, but alive. The face was Roman Vesper's. Lena's legs gave out. She hit the floor hard, gasping for air that wouldn't come. It's not possible, she managed. He's dead. I don't know what this is, Vera said, voice tight. But someone wants us to think he's alive. Either it's real or it's the most elaborate mind game anyone's ever played. Lena stared at the photo, at Roman's face, at the man she'd mourned for 6 months. If he was alive, if he'd been alive this whole time. Where? Lena's voice was hoarse. Where is he? Vera's phone buzzed. A text appeared below the photo, an address, across the city, in the industrial district. It's a trap, Vera said immediately. It has to be. I don't care. Lena got to her feet, legs unsteady. If there's even a chance, Lena, I'm going. Her voice was steel. With or without you. Vera stared at her. Then she pulled out her own phone, started making calls. Then we go smart. Full security. Every precaution. And if this is Marcus playing games, then we end him. Lena's eyes were hard. Tonight. They left the flower shop under the cover of darkness, surrounded by Vera's security team, driving toward an address that promised either everything or nothing, toward a truth that would either save Lena or destroy her completely. And somewhere across the city, in a hospital room that didn't officially exist, a man with Roman Vesper's face opened his eyes for the first time in 6 months and whispered a single word. Lena. The address led them to an abandoned medical facility on the edge of the industrial district. Not a hospital. Something worse. A black site clinic that had operated off the books for years, serving criminals who couldn't risk official emergency rooms. Lena's hands were ice cold as Vera's security team swept the building. Clear, one of them reported through the radio. 1 occupant, 3rd floor, east wing. Lena didn't wait for permission. She ran. Up the stairs 2 at a time, breath coming in ragged gasps, Vera shouting behind her to slow down. She couldn't slow down. If Roman was alive, if he'd been here for 6 months while she mourned him. The hallway on the 3rd floor was dark except for emergency lighting. Medical equipment lined the walls, most of it outdated. The smell hit her immediately, antiseptic and decay, and something else. Sickness. The door at the end was partially open. Lena pushed through. The room beyond was small. A single hospital bed. Machines beeping softly. IV drips. monitors showing vital signs, and in the bed, a man. Lena's knees nearly gave out. It was Roman, thinner than she remembered, pale. Bandages covered his chest and shoulder. His face was gaunt, cheekbones sharp beneath skin that looked too tight, but alive, breathing, real. "Oh my God," she whispered. His eyes opened, slowly, like it took enormous effort. They focused on her face. And something that might have been recognition flickered there. "Lena." His voice was barely audible, hoarse from disuse. She crossed the room in 3 steps and grabbed his hand. It was warm, solid, real. "You're alive," she managed, voice breaking. How are you alive?" Roman's fingers twitched in hers. Vest, Kevlar, under the shirt. Lena's mind raced back to that night in the alley. The gunshot, the blood. So much blood. "But I saw. Exit wound, missed the heart. Barely." Roman's breathing was labored. "Vera got me here, surgeon she trusted. Kept me under, sedated, to heal." Lena turned to see Vera standing in the doorway. Vera's expression was unreadable. "You knew," Lena said. The words came out flat. "All this time. You knew he was alive." "Yes." The single word hung in the air like a grenade. Lena stood slowly, hand slipping from Roman's. 6 months. I mourned him for 6 months. I built a life around his death, and you knew. I had to. Vera's voice was steady. Silas had people everywhere. If word got out Roman survived, they'd have come for him. Finished the job. So you lied to me. I protected him. Vera stepped into the room. That was my job. Keep him alive, no matter what. Even if it meant destroying me? Lena's voice shook with rage. Even if it meant letting me grieve and suffer and fall apart thinking he was dead? Yes. The blunt honesty was somehow worse than any excuse could have been. Lena felt something break inside her chest. All those nights crying herself to sleep, all those mornings waking up to emptiness, all those decisions she'd made, thinking she was honoring a dead man's memory. And he'd been alive the entire time. I trusted you, Lena said quietly. I know. I let you guide me, help me, rebuild my life. I know. And you lied to my face every single day. Vera's jaw clenched. I did what Roman asked me to do. His last conscious instruction before the surgery was to keep you safe, even from the truth, especially from the truth. That wasn't your choice to make. Lena's hands were shaking. Or his. No. Vera's voice was hard. It was survival. Silas would have used you to get to Roman, tortured you for information about where he was. If you thought he was dead, you couldn't give him up. The logic was sound, brutal, but sound. Lena wanted to scream. Instead, she turned back to Roman. He was watching her with eyes that held too much pain to be just physical. Did you know? She asked him. That Vera was keeping this from me. Roman's throat worked. Yes. Another betrayal. Another lie. Why? Because... He stopped, breathing hard. Because I was dying. The surgeon said 50-50 at best. Internal bleeding they couldn't stop. Infection. Complications. His eyes held hers. I didn't want you sitting beside my bed watching me die slowly. Didn't want that to be your last memory. So you let me think you were already dead. Yes. Lena's vision blurred with tears. That's not your choice to make, Roman. My grief, my pain, how I process loss, that's mine, not yours to control. I know, his voice cracked. I know, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't. He stopped, started again. I couldn't let you waste months of your life in this room hoping I'd wake up. You needed to move forward, build something, live. I built it on a lie. You built it? On you. Roman's hand reached weakly toward her. The shop, the life, that was all you. I gave you permission to let me go. Lena stared at his outstretched hand. Part of her wanted to take it. Part of her wanted to walk out and never look back. How long have you been awake? She asked instead. 3 weeks. Roman lowered his hand. Conscious, I mean. Before that, just fragments, pain, voices, nothing coherent. 3 weeks. Lena's voice was hollow. And you didn't tell me. I wanted to. Roman's eyes were desperate. But I was still too weak, and Vera said you were moving forward, healing. I didn't want to destroy that. So you were just going to… What? Stay hidden forever? No. A new voice from the doorway. They all turned. Marcus Chen stood there with a gun pointed at Vera. I was going to use him to destroy both of you, Marcus said pleasantly. But this works too. Vera moved fast, but not fast enough. Marcus fired. The bullet caught Vera in the shoulder and spun her around. She hit the floor hard, cursing. Lena lunged for her, but Marcus swung the gun toward her face. Don't, he said, or the next one goes through your skull. Lena froze. Marcus smiled. See? You can be taught. Behind her, Roman was trying to sit up. Marcus, this is between us. Let them go. It stopped being between us the moment you faked your death. Marcus kept the gun trained on Lena. You made a fool of me, Roman. Made the whole city think you were gone. Made me waste 6 months planning to take over an empire you were still controlling from the shadows. I wasn't controlling anything. Weren't you? Marcus's eyes were cold. Vera running your operations, Lena sitting on your money, the lawyer releasing funds to your old contacts. You think I didn't notice? You think I'm stupid? I think you're desperate, Roman said, voice stronger now, pain edging every word but the authority returning. You were never good enough to run my empire. That's why you're here with a gun, instead of sitting on top of it. Marcus's hand tightened on the weapon. Careful. I could kill her right now. You could. Roman's eyes held his. But then Vera kills you, and you die knowing you failed again. Vera's shot. Vera's been shot before. Roman's tone was matter of fact. Shoulder wound won't slow her down for long. You have maybe 90 seconds before she's back on her feet and tearing you apart. Marcus glanced at Vera. She was already moving, pulling herself up using the wall, left arm hanging useless but right hand reaching for the gun on her hip. Marcus panicked, swung the gun toward Vera. Lena didn't think, just moved. She grabbed the IV stand beside Roman's bed and swung it with everything she had. The metal pole caught Marcus across the temple. He stumbled. The gun went off. The bullet punched through the ceiling. Vera tackled him. They went down hard, struggling for the weapon. Lena scrambled backward, heart hammering. The fight was brutal. Vera with one working arm against Marcus's desperation. He got the gun up. She redirected it. The shot went wide, shattering a window. Then Vera did something with her wrist and Marcus screamed. The gun clattered across the floor. Vera drove her elbow into his face. Once. Twice. He stopped moving. The room went silent except for Vera's ragged breathing. She stood slowly, favoring her wounded shoulder, and kicked Marcus's gun away. Is he… Lena started. Unconscious, not dead. Vera pulled out her phone with her good hand. Getting sloppy in my old age. She made a call. Within minutes, her security team flooded the room. They zip-tied Marcus and hauled him away. A medic appeared to work on Vera's shoulder. And through it all, Roman watched from the bed with eyes that had seen too much violence in one lifetime. When the room finally cleared, just the three of them left. Nobody spoke. The weight of 6 months of lies sat heavy between them. Lena broke the silence first. I can't do this, she said quietly. Roman's face fell. Lena, no. Listen. She moved closer to the bed. I can't be with someone who thinks protecting me means lying to me. I can't build a life with someone who makes decisions about my grief without asking me. I can't… Her voice broke. I can't trust you. Roman's eyes glistened. I understand. Do you? Lena's hands clenched. Because I don't think you do. You spent 6 months dead to me. 6 months I'll never get back. 6 months of pain and growth and change that happened while you were asleep in this room. I'm not the same person I was that night in the alley. I know. I'm stronger now. Lena's voice was firm. I rebuilt the shop myself. I stood up to Marcus myself. I made choices and lived with consequences and became someone who doesn't need you to protect her. Roman nodded slowly. I see that. So here's what's going to happen. Lena took a breath. You're going to get better. You're going to heal. And then you're going to decide what kind of person you want to be. Not for me. For yourself. And you? I'm going to keep building my life. The one I started while you were gone. She met his eyes. And maybe, if we're both lucky, when you're ready to be honest, truly honest, not just honest when it's convenient, we can try again. As equals, not as a criminal and the woman he saved. Roman was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. Sad. Proud. You really don't need me anymore, he said. No. Lena's throat tightened. But I want you. If you can be the man I fell in love with. The one who looked at me like I was real, who trusted me with his pain, not the one who makes decisions for me. That's fair. Roman's hand found hers. More than fair. Lena squeezed once, then let go. She turned to Vera. Can you get him somewhere safe? Somewhere he can actually recover? Vera nodded. Already arranged. Private facility. Real doctors. Full security. Good. Lena moved toward the door. When he's better, tell him where to find me. She left without looking back. 3 months later. The flower shop was thriving. Lena had hired 2 assistants and expanded into the space next door. The walls were covered with photos of weddings, events, celebrations, life captured in petals and arrangements. She was training one of the assistants on rose varieties when the bell chimed. She looked up. Roman Vesper stood in the doorway, different than before, healthier. Color in his face, weight back on his frame. He wore jeans and a plain shirt, nothing expensive, nothing that screamed power, just a man. Lena's breath caught. Hi, he said. Hi. They stared at each other. The assistant looked between them. Should I? Take lunch, Lena said, not breaking eye contact. The assistant grabbed her bag and fled. When they were alone, Roman stepped further into the shop. It looks incredible, he said, looking around. Really? You've built something amazing. Thanks. The Morrison wedding photos are on the wall. They came out nice. Yeah. The conversation was stilted, awkward, like strangers trying to find their footing. How are you? Lena asked finally. Better, physically. Roman's hand went to his chest unconsciously. Still sore, probably always will be, but alive. Good. Therapy helps. He said it simply. Vera suggested it, talking about everything. The violence, the empire, the choices I made. Lena's eyebrows rose. You're in therapy? Twice a week. Turns out being a crime lord for 15 years leaves psychological scars. Who knew? His smile was self-deprecating. Despite herself, Lena smiled back. What about the empire? She asked. Dismantled, mostly. Roman leaned against the counter. Vera's running the legitimate businesses. Everything else is sold off or shut down. The files got released selectively to law enforcement. Anonymous tips. Enough to clean up the worst corruption without starting a war. And Marcus? Prison. 25 to life. His whole operation collapsed. The people who worked for him either disappeared or took deals with the prosecutor. Lena nodded slowly. So it's over. It's over. Roman's eyes met hers. I'm not that person anymore. I can't be. The city knows I'm alive now. News got out about a month ago. But I'm nobody. Just a guy with a past trying to figure out how to live a normal life. How's that going? It's terrifying. He laughed. I don't know how to be normal. I don't know what to do with days that don't involve violence or strategy or watching my back every second. Welcome to being human. Yeah, Sim. Roman's expression softened. You warned me about that, back when we first met. You said being human gets you killed in my world. I was wrong. Lena moved closer. Being human is the only thing that keeps you alive. Everything else is just survival. They stood inches apart. Lena could see the scar tissue at the collar of his shirt, the evidence of the bullet that should have killed him. Why are you here, Roman? She asked quietly. Because I'm ready. His voice was low. To be honest, to be equal, to be the man you asked me to be 3 months ago. Are you sure? No, he smiled, but I'm willing to try, if you'll let me. Lena studied his face, looking for the criminal, the liar. The man who'd made decisions for her without asking. What she saw instead was someone vulnerable, uncertain, real. I have conditions, she said. Okay? No more lies. Ever. Even if you think you're protecting me. Agreed. No more making decisions for me. We're partners or we're nothing. Agreed. And you keep going to therapy. Keep working on being the person you want to be. Already planned on it. Lena took a breath. And we take this slow. No rushing. No grand gestures. Just two people figuring out if they can build something real. Roman nodded. I can do slow. Can you? I'll learn. He reached out tentatively. May I? Lena took his hand. His fingers laced through hers, warm, solid, scarred, but steady. I love you, Roman said quietly. Not the version of you I built in my head while I was dying. Not the symbol of everything I wanted to be. Just you. Lena Vale. The woman who accidentally sent me a message and changed my entire life. Lena's throat tightened. I love you too. But I need you to understand, I'm not going to fix you. I'm not going to save you from yourself. You have to do that work. I know. And there will be days it's hard. Days when your past catches up. Days when being normal feels impossible. I know that too. Roman squeezed her hand. But I'd rather have hard days with you than easy days alone. They stood there in the flower shop, surrounded by roses and lilies and the scent of living things. Outside, the city moved around them, Blackwater in all its ugly beauty, still dangerous, still broken, but maybe, just maybe, capable of change. Okay, Lena said finally. Let's try. Roman's smile was genuine, unguarded. The smile of a man who'd been given a second chance he didn't deserve. Can I take you to dinner? He asked. Somewhere normal, not a rooftop restaurant emptied out for intimidation, just a regular place with regular people. That sounds perfect. Tomorrow night? Tomorrow night. They stood there a moment longer. Then Roman leaned down and kissed her. Soft. Gentle. Nothing like the desperate kiss in his penthouse 6 months ago. This was different. This was two people choosing each other with eyes open, with knowledge of the cost, with scars that would never fully heal. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. I should get back to work, Lena said. Right. Yeah. Roman stepped back. I'll see you tomorrow? You will. He turned to leave. At the door, he paused. Lena? Yeah? Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for becoming someone worth taking a chance on. He left. The bell chimed cheerfully. Lena stood alone in the shop, hand pressed to her lips, chest full of something that felt dangerous and hopeful in equal measure. Her assistant poked her head back in. Is it safe? Lena laughed. Yeah, it's safe. Yeah, 6 months later. Winter had settled over Blackwater City, turning the streets into a monochrome study of gray and white. Lena locked up the flower shop at 7, waving goodbye to her assistants. Business had been steady. Good, even. The Morrison wedding had led to referrals. The community center she'd opened in the rebuilt warehouse was thriving. Life had found a rhythm. Roman met her outside with 2 cups of coffee from the shop next door. They'd been doing this for months now, him showing up after work, walking her home. Sometimes they talked. Sometimes they just existed in comfortable silence. How was your day? He asked, falling into step beside her. Exhausting. 3 weddings this weekend and one of the brides keeps changing her mind about centerpieces. Want me to convince her to stick with her original choice? Using your terrifying crime lord voice? I was thinking more polite suggestion. Lena laughed. No, I've got it handled. They walked through the city as snow started to fall. Roman was different now, really different. He'd found work as a consultant for businesses trying to clean up their operations. Turned out 15 years of running an empire made him good at finding inefficiencies and corruption. He made decent money, enough to rent a small apartment and live simply. He still had nightmares, still flinched at loud noises, still carried the weight of everything he'd done. But he was trying, and that was enough. Vera called today, Roman said as they turned onto Lena's street. The last of the charges got filed. Everyone on the original list is either in prison or under investigation. How does she feel about that? Relieved, I think, like she can finally close that chapter. And you? Roman was quiet for a moment. Guilty. That it took my death, or near death, to make any of this happen. That I didn't do it sooner. You did it eventually. That counts. Does it? Yes? Lena stopped walking and turned to face him. You can't change the past, Roman. You can only choose who you are now. He nodded slowly. What if who I am now isn't enough? For who? For you. Lena reached up and cupped his face. You're enough. You were enough the moment you decided to become someone better. The rest is just work. Roman leaned into her touch. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she smiled. Good thing love isn't about deserving. They stood there on the snowy street while the city moved around them. Then Roman pulled something from his pocket, a small box. Lena's breath caught. I know we said slow, Roman started, and I know we agreed no grand gestures, but I've been carrying this for 3 months and I can't wait anymore. He opened the box. Inside was a ring. Not the black diamond from Roman's original proposal 6 months ago. That ring was from a different life, a different version of him. This was simpler. White gold, a single clear stone, elegant without being flashy, real without being ostentatious. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow, Roman said quickly. I'm not even asking you to wear it yet. I wanted you to know that this is real for me, that I'm planning a future where you're in it, if you'll have me. Lena stared at the ring, at this man who'd died for her and come back different, at the life they'd been building piece by piece. Ask me, she said quietly. Roman's eyes widened. What? Ask me. Properly. He stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, he got down on one knee, right there on the snowy sidewalk. Lena Vale, he said, voice rough with emotion. I'm not the man I was when we met. I'm not a king or a crime lord or anything impressive. I'm just a guy who got lucky enough to receive your misdirected anger one rainy night. A guy who fell in love with your honesty. A guy who spent the last year learning how to be human instead of a monster. His hand was shaking. I can't promise I won't make mistakes. I can't promise there won't be hard days. But I can promise I'll choose you. Every time. In every way that matters. I'll choose honesty over protection, partnership over control, love over fear. He held up the ring. Will you marry me? Lena looked down at him, at the scars visible at his collar, at the fear and hope warring in his eyes, at the man who'd been willing to die for her and then willing to let her go. Yes, she said. Roman's face broke into a smile so genuine it made him look 10 years younger. He stood and slid the ring onto her finger with trembling hands. It fit perfectly. I love you, he whispered. I love you too. They kissed in the falling snow while the city continued around them, cars passing, people walking, life moving forward the way it always did. When they pulled apart, both were crying, happy tears this time. We should celebrate, Roman said. We should. Lena linked her arm through his. But not at some expensive restaurant. Somewhere real. Pizza? Pizza sounds perfect. They walked together through Blackwater City, past the flower shop that had survived fire and emerged stronger, past the empty lot where Roman's old empire used to operate, past the cemetery where his grave still stood even though he'd never occupied it. The city that had tried to destroy them both had failed. They'd survived, changed, became something neither of them expected. At the pizza place, they squeezed into a booth meant for high schoolers, ordered too much food, laughed at stupid jokes, made plans for a future that felt impossibly fragile and impossibly strong. I want a small wedding, Lena said. Just us and a few people. Nothing elaborate. Whatever you want. And I want to keep the shop, keep working. Of course. And you keep going to therapy. Already planned on it. Lena smiled. We're going to be okay, aren't we? Roman reached across the table and took her hand. The ring caught the light. Yeah, he said. I think we are. What? 1 year later. The wedding took place in the flower shop, small, intimate. Just Vera, the shop assistants, a handful of people from the community center, and the lawyer who'd delivered Roman's letter. No family for either of them. They'd both come from broken homes and built their own family instead. The ceremony was short, officiated by a judge Vera knew, not on any of Roman's old payroll lists, just someone who believed in second chances. Lena wore a simple white dress. Roman wore a suit he'd bought himself, not designer, just clean and well-fitted. They said their vows surrounded by flowers, promised honesty, promised partnership, promised to choose each other every day even when it was hard. When the judge pronounced them married, Roman kissed Lena like she was the only real thing in the world. And for him, she was. The reception was in the community center, pizza and beer and a cake from the bakery down the street. No speeches, no formality, just people eating and laughing and celebrating two people who'd survived hell and chosen love anyway. Vera gave them a gift wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a photo, black and white, taken by a security camera the night Roman got shot. It showed Lena's face in the alley, the moment before Silas pulled the trigger, pure terror in her eyes, but also something else, determination. "Why would you give us this?" Lena asked, confused. "Because it's the moment everything changed," Vera said simply. "The moment you both became who you needed to be. Seemed worth remembering." Lena looked at the photo for a long time. Then she hugged Vera. Vera stiffened, then slowly hugged back. "Thank you," Lena whispered, "for saving him, even when I hated you for lying." "Thank you for making him worth saving," Vera replied. They pulled apart. Roman was watching them with eyes that were suspiciously bright. "What?" Lena asked. "Nothing, just—" He gestured at the room, at the people, at the life they'd built. "This, all of this. It's more than I ever thought I'd have. You deserve it." "I really don't." His smile was self-aware. "But I'm grateful anyway." They danced to music from someone's phone, ate too much cake, stayed until the community center closed, and they had to kick everyone out. Later, back at the apartment they'd moved into together, Lena stood at the window looking out at the city. Roman came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That we got lucky." "Yeah?" "Yeah." Lena leaned back against him. "A wrong number. That's all it was. A mistake. And it gave us this. Best mistake either of us ever made." "You think we would have found each other anyway, without the accident?" Roman considered. "No. I think I would have died in that alley or one like it, and you'd have kept selling flowers without ever knowing I existed. So we needed the chaos. We needed the honesty," Roman corrected. "The chaos just forced it out of us." They stood there watching the city. Blackwater stretched out below them. Still dangerous, still broken, still beautiful in its ugliness, but different now. Or maybe they were different. Maybe it was the same city, and they were just seeing it through new eyes. "I love you," Lena said. "I love you too. Even though I destroyed your life? Especially because you destroyed my life." Roman turned her to face him. "You tore down everything I thought I was and forced me to build something better. That's not destruction. That's transformation." Lena kissed him, soft and slow and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. "Come to bed," Roman said. "In a minute." He went to the bedroom. Lena stayed at the window a moment longer, thinking about the night it all started. Rain hammering against the windows, her heart broken. Her message sent to the wrong number. One moment of carelessness that changed everything. She could have deleted it, could have apologized and blocked the number and never thought about it again. But she hadn't. And Roman could have ignored it, could have dismissed her as some random person having a bad night. But he hadn't. Two people. Two choices. One accidental connection, and somehow, against all odds, it had led here. To a life neither of them expected. To love neither of them deserved, but both of them fought for. Lena pulled out her phone, opened her messages, found the original text she'd sent that rainy night a year and a half ago. All that rage, all that pain, all that brutal honesty. She read it once, then deleted it. She didn't need it anymore. The past was done. The future was waiting. And somewhere in Blackwater City, the king who'd ruled through fear had become a man who chose love. And the florist who'd sent a wrong message had become a woman who transformed an empire. They'd both died that night in the alley, and both been reborn into something better. Lena turned away from the window and went to join her husband. Outside, the city continued, restless, alive, indifferent to the small miracles happening in apartments and flower shops and community centers. But that was okay. Some stories weren't meant for the whole world. Some were just meant for the two people brave enough to live them. And this one was theirs.